Transformers Auto Book Club is a weekly video and podcast series in which myself and a guest read, discuss, and deep dive into one issue of the US and UK Marvel Transformers comics, following Skybound's new Till All Are One reading order. In this video, I've cut together our first 4 episodes to give you the full story of the 4-issue miniseries that started it all. If you enjoy the video, you can check out the longer version of each issue's episode on the channel. There's a lot of Transformers-related chat that was edited out just to get right to the story for this supercut. And you can find episodes on all of the US and UK stories that we've read so far on the channel too. If you enjoy what we're doing, subscribe or check back every week for a new episode, and join our Discord using this QR code or the link in the description to talk about Transformers with us. Alright, let's transform and roll right into the full story of The Transformers, a 4-issue miniseries. Number 1, The Transformers. Alright, so before we even start reading the comic though, right at the top of the cover here, you can see it says number 1 in a 4-issue limited series. So that was the plan for this comic originally. It actually started coming out before the TV series even began. I guess it was just like an extra bit of advertising for the show and to get kids interested and excited for the first episode. So this first issue came out in May in 1984, so 3 years before I was born. So that makes it a year before you.
Yeah.
Comics are usually monthly though, so I guess they'd have had to have like issue 1 in May, 2 in June, 3 in July, 4 in August, and then the first episode of the cartoon aired in September 1984. So this comic has total 80 issues, plus the UK stories, which I'm going to cover in this like podcast and video series too.
Does it look like Optimus holding a giant like driving wheel in this for the front cover? Like he's driving a giant...
Yeah, what is that pose?
And they just had to like Photoshop a jet in his hand.
This cover is bonkers. I don't know what is happening in this cover. So firstly, like you said, he's got like a very strange pose going on. And he's got a lean too. He's like leaning back. But then like just at the bottom, you can see there's like a skyline or like a I don't know, environment there that he is so fucking big.
He's way too big.
Just seems way too big. Then there's this red thing, like I don't know if that is driving or flying. I don't know what this red guy is down here. And then there's Laserbeak up here, but then behind Laserbeak there's like an old man and a young boy. So I don't know if that's meant to be Sparkplug and his son, who in the comic is not called Spike, he's called Buster. But Buster is like 18, 19. So I don't know who this child is. And then, like, apparently behind Prime, like, the heat death of the universe is happening. And there's this giant red orb. I don't know what that's supposed to be. So, yeah, this cover is all over the place.
You can tell that they gave a lot of leeway to the artist for this. And he had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we'll come to is that the designs for the toys were, like, not finished. So they were just making this and kind of making it up. And you'll see when we go through the issue, there are some things that are really wonky.
75 cents. Wow.
75 cents? Oh, 50p in the UK.
For that issue 1.
For those who don't know, the order of the comics I'm reading is going to be a bit different to any other versions. But you'll still be able to read along no matter which version you have, because the list of the updated order is complete. And at the end of each episode, I'll let you know which one I, and hopefully my guest, will be covering next time.
Huzzah!
The order comes from the recently kickstarted Image Skybound Till All Are One box set, which combines the US comics and the UK comics in the most chronological and seamless order possible, because they are all over the place. The UK issues would come out and have like parts of the American issues in, and it all got really muddled up. So to explain this quickly for anyone like me who didn't know, the UK issues are shorter and mostly take place behind the scenes or like between issues of the US comic, because they made the crazy decision in the UK to release an issue every 2 weeks. But the US comic was coming out every month. So basically, the UK issues had to just come up with something to put out. So they reprinted the American stories and then they just made up a whole bunch of extra stuff. Yeah, it's
crazy.
really a weird decision to make. So I think anyone following this order who has the US and the UK compendiums will have to jump back and forth between those like giant phone book sized tomes to go in the same order that I'm going to, but it's possible. It's manageable. Skybound sent out the PDFs of the comics they're going to print this month ahead of actually printing them and producing the books, which will start shipping out at the end of the year. So I'm sure I'll do like a very excited unboxing video or something when they're finally here, though I'm outside the US. So there'll probably be dozens of them by that time. But it doesn't matter. I'm so excited. But from those PDFs, we have the reading order listed, so it's going to be easy to follow along, I think. One more thing, just right at the start, so that everybody knows, and I'm totally honest, I've never read any of these comics before. This is my first ever read-through of the series, and I'm also someone who has a terrible memory. I don't know, and I don't remember all these things right out of my head. I read the comic first, and then I make myself, like, extensive notes, like 10, 11 pages of notes. And then some of the interesting things that I learned have come from the Transformers wiki, which is at tfwiki.net. And that is so incredibly useful.
Very useful.
It's a really fun wiki. The tone is like really jokey and fun. And they catalog like just so much information. So when I was watching through the cartoon again, which is all up on Hasbro's YouTube channel for free, I watched the episode and then I went to the wiki page for each one and they list like animation errors, continuity errors, sometimes characters' voices are even switched. In one episode, Prime was like in the foreground and ran into the distance, but they forgot to remove the initial cell. So he's standing there in the foreground, and then like a second Prime runs out from behind him towards the Washington Monument. So, and there's like, they've also got like descriptions of deleted scenes and trivia. It's really fun to watch it that way. Anyway, that wiki has a section for the comics, which is similar. So it's really useful. So I'll most likely use that to point out any interesting or relevant stuff from every issue. But there's a lot of stuff that is just like coloring errors. And even like I was saying before the first issue came out, the toy designs were not finished. But later on, they were finished. And there's still just errors all the time, like coloring errors all the time. And I feel like seen a little bit because I have trouble sometimes remembering who is who. And like, especially, who is it? Huffer and Brawn are basically the same shape. They're just different colors. So I don't blame the artist for getting confused at all.
Yeah.
But reading through them like this is really helping me to learn everybody's name. So that's fun. So that was a bit of a long detour. Now, as I was saying, this comic came out before the show began airing. But why that's important is that some of the designs and the color schemes for some of the characters are totally different.
Yeah.
Some of them stayed that way for the entire series. In the first 2 issues, the designs and colors were based on the first animated commercial. And the Transformers in that commercial weren't even the final designs yet. It's actually up on YouTube. You can search it up and I'll put the link in the notes too.
That was really good. Coming soon, the Transformer
from Marvel Comics. Yeah, so this is an animated advertisement for the comic. That's an advertisement for the animated series that hasn't come out yet.
It would get me. If I saw that on TV, I'd be like, I'm in.
Fair enough, yeah. Megatron looks almost completely different. His head is like a weird shape. I think it's like an early version of the theme song too, because there's the guitar riffs are missing. And there's a cool like... I really like that part. I wish they kept that in there. And the animation right at the beginning, like the very beginning of the ship flying over, is really nicely done too. But neither of those ships ended up in the final show.
Yeah.
And only the Ark comes to Earth, I think, in the cartoon, right? Starscream and Thundercracker's heads are completely different too. But this version of the commercial cuts off at the end. So they might mention the cartoon and that's just cut off. I don't know. But I thought it was funny that, yeah, this is an animated commercial for the comic, which is advertising for the upcoming cartoon, which is basically just an advertisement to sell toys. It's a long chain of things there.
They did really good toy sales, though, so it worked for them. We all bought their toys.
This is why we're here now, 40 years in the future, talking about it.
I wish I still kept mine, but yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. The image of the cover of issue 1 comes up at the end of that commercial, and it looks different to the one they actually used as well, but Prime looks closer to how G1 Prime looks in the commercial version. So it's weird they revised the cover for this and not the one they actually printed. Like they revised the cover to look more accurate for the commercial for the comic, but not on the actual comic. So I guess things were not finalized yet and things just kept changing or something.
Yeah.
In the comic, Soundwave was famously purple instead of blue, and they kept it that way for the entire comic. Soundwave was just purple in the comics. But then IDW, like years and years later, tried to touch up and fix a lot of the coloring errors for the Transformers Classics books, which were the ones that I wanted to read that are like long out of print now and go for hundreds of dollars each.
Yeah.
I think that's where the version that Image Skybound are using for this came from as well. So they don't need to like digitally clean up everything all over again. But I don't know if they're going to make any changes or touch it up from that version. But what that means is that this is already a bit altered from how it was originally printed. So,
yeah.
I mean, we haven't read the original 80s ones anyway, so we're not going to know any difference. So anyway, that's why Prime looks so funky on the cover and why it says 1 of 4 when we know that this thing is going to run for like 80 issues.
They always underestimate the power of giant robots.
So that was a lot of stuff before we even opened the first issue, but I guess the first episode is going to be a bit of a long one. So let's get into the actual meat or like metal of the very first issue of Transformers, which has the very surprising and wildly creative title, The Transformers.
The Transformers.
Transformers. So right at the start, we're introduced to Cybertron, a planet the size of Saturn that's 9 times bigger than Earth. Cybertron is bloody massive.
It's huge.
And we get this really like flimsy science lesson on the evolution of sentient machines on Cybertron, where it says Autobots are the dominant life forms. Life elsewhere in the cosmos usually evolved through carbon bonding. Here it was the interaction of naturally occurring gears, levers, and pulleys that miraculously brought forth sentient beings. So machine parts just naturally evolved to appear on Cybertron and like came together into intelligent machines. Like, okay, let's just go with it, right?
Sure.
They really quickly explain that way, like, there's just lots of robots here, okay? And then in the last panel, there are lots of like weird Autobots that I don't think we ever see again.
Yeah, background characters.
There's like a really tall, skinny yellow guy, and there's like a green guy next to him that's even taller than him. I think his legs are hidden behind Prime's like shoulder there.
I like seeing the architecture of the buildings as well, very Jetsons.
There's a lot of little details in there.
Yeah.
Prime doesn't have his mouth shield thingy here either, if that's him, down there in the corner. The colors look like it's him, but the face is more human looking. It's kind of weird. But this is before the war, I think, so...
Yeah.
I was really surprised by how much text there is in this comic. I mean, it was pretty common in the 60s to have like so much text all over the comics, but I thought a bit less so in the 80s. But maybe they were trying to cram everything that they could in because they thought it'd end at issue 4.
Yeah, it's gonna end soon, so they gotta get a lot of stuff in.
It's a lot. So the first character to say something in the comics is actually Ravage, who doesn't speak at all in the cartoons.
The fact that Ravage talks in this is really...
That is weird,
different.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I don't know if they keep that in. I don't know if that continues for the rest of the series or not. We'll find out.
It is very jarring. I was like, what? When I first saw it.
Yeah, I thought maybe it would just happen once, but it keeps going, so we'll see how long that lasts for. Megatron makes his first appearance next with a really different head shape and face than we get later. His eyes are like these giant yellow shades or something. It's kind of cool, actually.
Oh, they're really cool. I really like them.
Yeah, right?
I think they're badass. They could have made those into sunglasses, and I would buy them. You know,
Right? They're cool. He says that the Decepticons have quietly lived in peace with the Autobots and honed their technology until they're ready to strike. So their technology lets them turn into weapons, and Megatron's arm cannon, which is a pretty big usually, it looks gigantic here. On the very far right, it's massive.
Yeah, huge.
He's got some like weird red chassis on in this panel too. Like they really change up his design a bunch before they reach the final version.
Yeah.
The Decepticons start striking at Autobot strongholds, and the only reason we're given that they're doing that is that Cybertron is too peaceful, and Megatron calls it decay. So basically, he thinks that living peacefully is making them too soft, and he wants war on a planetary scale. That's just batshit.
It'd be funnier if he was like, "We have so much rust now," you know.
That would make even more sense. Like he's bored and wants to start a fight. Like, geez, okay. The opening stages of the war are so volatile that it throws Cybertron, and don't forget this is a planet 9 times bigger than Earth, out of orbit. So that's how hard they're fighting each other. And it sends Cybertron hurtling through space. That's like an incalculable amount of power would have to be thrown around to throw a planet 9 times the size of Earth, but okay.
What kind of weapons were they freaking using to do all this? Holy...
That giant cannon, I guess. Yeah, plenty of questionable things happening, but let's go with it because shut up! Giant sentient transforming robots! It says here, Autobots died in their billions, but the survivors built themselves cities and could also change forms, but into vehicles, which it says have great offensive potential. And this guy, this big red guy that never comes up again, has like a nickname with fans. He's called Big Red.
Big Red.
Yeah.
Look at the size of his hands, though. He's just crushing this dude.
And yeah, he must be massive. He's crushing a whole jet with one hand. What a badass. I don't know like who this was even based on, if he was based on anybody. It doesn't look like anything to me. And it says, in time, the magnificent armies on each side of the struggle become known as the Transformers. And then we get the credits here. Bill Mantler wrote the plot, but Ralph Macchio wrote the actual script. Frank Springer was the penciler. Kim DeMolder was on inks. And there's maybe an error down here. It says Hissins and Parker were on letters, which is really funny because according to the wiki, that name is supposed to be Higgins. So Higgins is a lettering error in the letterer's name. But
Oh,
actually, I think that's from the recolor. I think that's not his fault. I think Higgins didn't do that. I think they could spell their own name. So I think when IDW did the recolor, it made some of the text go really wonky, and they just didn't fix it. Nelson Yomtov was the colorist, and Bob Budiansky was the editor. And lastly, Jim Shooter was the editor-in-chief at Marvel at the time, so he's credited there too. Which is an interesting bit of comics history. Jim died not so long ago in June, and we're in September now, but let's just say that he was a controversial figure. But historically significant in the Marvel and DC history nonetheless. The Decepticons planned their moves too well, and the Autobots weren't prepared, so their casualties are racking up. And Megatron's fusion cannon can level entire Autobot strongholds.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy.
And he says that his plan is to wipe out every Autobot and then rebuild Cybertron itself as a dreadnought to go and conquer the universe. Which is totally insane. I love how over the top and dramatic that is. Like, I'm going to take this entire planet and use it to conquer other planets. That's baller.
An epic weapon. Like, I wonder what he'd even name it. Imagine if that weapon found Unicron.
Yeah. There's a close-up of Megatron with his big yellow bug eyes again. Yeah, I really like those. From the ranks of the Autobots rose a leader, and he was the only one wise and powerful enough to unite the Autobots into a force that could stand up to the Decepticons. Now Prime looks like the final version, closer to the final version, but maybe the pre-war version earlier was supposed to look different, or maybe that wasn't even him. Prime can turn into this like weird, boxy tank thing, and only Megatron can rival his power. Prime allows the Autobots to regain a foothold and rebuild a bit, so now each side can hold their own. The war continues like this for 1,000 years. Well, Cybertron is still just flying through space.
It also makes sense that the transformations would be different here because they haven't landed on Earth yet to like mimic the Earth vehicles. You know?
Yeah, exactly. They haven't got the new forms yet.
Yeah. So people are like wondering like why isn't he a truck right now? That's why, because they don't know what a truck is.
I don't know what he actually is though. What is that?
I just see it. It looks like a immovable cannon to me.
Yeah, maybe it's just a cannon. But it's being so theatrical and bombastic again. But I really enjoy stuff like that. I think I have kind of a thing for stories that don't take themselves too seriously and let logic just take a backseat to having huge scale and exciting stuff go on, like Flash Gordon or Fist of the North Star or something. Eventually, after 1,000 years, Cybertron is about to collide with an asteroid belt. And there's a robot explaining that they need to do something to save Cybertron. And it's sitting on some kind of big white throne, and Optimus refers to them as Sire. So it looks like a monarch of Cybertron. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. And I don't know if this ever comes up again, but he looks like he has a beard there on his face too. I don't know who that is. Do you have any idea?
It does seem familiar in the cartoons, but I can't remember his name.
Maybe I'll get to it in my rewatch eventually, but yeah, I don't know who that is. Prime volunteers himself and a specially selected group of allies to fly out and clear a path for Cybertron through the asteroids. But he says he knows that that's going to invite a Decepticon attack, and they're prepared to take that risk. He doesn't know that Ravage is listening in. To do this job, the Autobots create the Ark, which is the ship they have on Earth.
Yeah.
This one looks more similar to the cartoon version of the Ark than the one in the commercial did. So I guess this was drawn after the commercial that we saw.
Yeah.
But it's still silver instead of yellow. Some of these changes are like so tiny. I'm kind of curious why those things got changed. But if I had to guess, I bet yellow plastic is way cheaper and easier to make than shiny metal plastic.
Yeah. For
So they
sure.
probably just changed it to make the toys like easy to produce. Looking around the internet, it does seem like there were some Ark playsets or something. So like they had a reason to like want to change that, I guess.
I remember before I found a toy that someone was selling that was the Ark that could transform into a robot, and I've never seen this before. Yeah, it was shocking to me that I didn't think the Ark could transform, but apparently this toy from this it was from another series. I can't remember the name of that series, but the Ark would transform, and I just blew my mind.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Here on the next page is something I've never seen before too. This is Castle Decepticon, like this big spire they have.
You know that was gonna be a toy. Like they wanted to make that into one of those like He-Man base toys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, I wonder why that got scrapped actually.
Castle Decepticon.
Yeah, so back at Castle Decepticon. Ravage relays the information to Megatron, who says how handy it is that Ravage can absorb electromagnetic radiation and therefore be undetectable. So Ravage is completely invisible. That's useful. Ravage speaks again and promises to continue to be useful to Megatron. And Megatron says their next move is to also create a spacecraft to follow the Autobots, let them destroy the asteroids, and then attack them and take out Prime to destabilize the entire of the Autobot forces. Which, that's a solid plan.
Yeah, because he's removing. They're already dealing with the threat to Cybertron, so let them deal with the threat, and then attack them when they're tired, I guess, and weak.
Exactly, and then just take out the leader.
Yeah, smart plan.
So that might explain the other ship from the commercial earlier. Like maybe they had the script for this done before that was animated. But in the commercial, there were 2 ships, when in the cartoon only 1 makes it to Earth. The Autobots cleared the pathway by blasting the asteroids, and Prime says that thanks to their efforts, the planet can continue drifting and pass close by the 3rd planet of this solar system, which, that's Earth.
Look how amazing the colors are here. Like, it's so much fun to see, like, the contrast of space in the background, the guns shooting the asteroids.
It's really bright and colorful.
This would be a sick video game, not gonna lie. You just Autobots blasting meteorites that are coming to like, that's how simple this would be, and I would play
Right, on the NES or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to pass close by Earth, but of course they don't know that that's Earth yet. And then next there's a close-up of Prime's face, and he has these like yellow eyes, and they're like downward pointing triangles. And I'm kind of sad they changed Megatron's eyes, but I'm glad they changed Optimus's because they make him look sad all the time.
Yeah.
He just looks really upset.
I agree.
But he's celebrating in the text. He says, like, let us rejoice in our achievement. But he looks so sad. And he says they need to return to Cybertron and make peace with the Decepticons and end this long and terrible war. And right after he says that, the waiting Decepticons begin to attack the Ark. They manage to board it, and Prime says that they're too weak after destroying the asteroids, and that their current firepower is no match for the Decepticons. And not to put too fine a point on it, but if you look at them, like you were saying, they're shooting the asteroids. That's enough to tire them out. They're so exhausted from shooting asteroids, I guess, that they can't fight back.
It might be they're low on energon as well, because they have to use a lot of their energy to shoot these things down, so they don't have the preserve to keep fighting. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what could be an issue.
The ship has a big gun there, so I don't know why they went and stood outside. That's dangerous. Anyway, the hull is breached and more Decepticons infiltrate the ship. And there's like a really wonky bit of text here that says that the Decepticons are fully fublio for battle. I think that was meant to say fueled. I don't know what they did during the touch-up process that caused that to happen, and how like nobody noticed that or fixed it and it got finalized. But there might be some time for Skybound to fix that. Like this is the file they will use to print, but maybe they have time between now and then to fix some of these weird errors. There's a massacre that's like just as bad as the opening of Transformers the Animated Movie. Autobots are getting scrapped left and right.
Oh, yeah.
And then Prowl tells Optimus that he calculates they have like 5.7 minutes before they're totally defeated. Which is funny because in the cartoon they're always talking about astroseconds. But anyway, it's minutes here in space. And Prime replies that they only have 1 course of action. And he also says that Prowl is one of his most trusted advisors, which I guess is debatable later, but for right now, Prowl is Prime's #1 guy. So Prime pushes a big yellow button with 1 finger, like really daintily. There's no dramatic slamming a fist on the button. He just like, boop.
Yeah, you think he'd be like putting a lever like forward at full like throttle to make the jets just shoot out. But, I guess a button works.
Right, just boop. Beep. That's it. And that sends the Ark on a suicidal heading to collide with Earth, killing everyone on board. So he says his goodbyes to Prowl, and he says that at least they're taking out their enemies with them. So, like, I know the 80s was a different time. Like, Transformers, the animated movie, got a U certificate in England, which means universal. It has no age rating. Anyone can see it. And this movie starts with a major character getting killed and has an oh shit in it. But also, you would not see the word suicidal in a kid's comic today, like, no chance.
Yeah.
Actually, the previous pilot episode I made of the Transformers Auto Book Club, just to like start things, was about Worst Bot Ever, which is a Transformers comic aimed at kids about an original Transformer called Ballpoint, who is a pen. And I noted while I was reading that no character ever even gets hit in that. No one takes any damage or shows any pain in the entire thing. It's all really fun and gentle.
I read that comic. It was very nice. Yeah,
it's really fun and gentle.
It was really cute.
But it's funny to come from like reading that to like reading this, and both are aimed at kids. And this is a full-on about it being a war and billions of Autobot deaths and apparent suicide, and like Ballpoint's a pen and talks to blenders.
You gotta remember the 80s, man. Like anything can go through. Yeah, like they can show kids the most graphic shit and then be like, try to remember that this is a cartoon show, yay! And then now that wouldn't fly here because
no way
they wouldn't allow that to go through censorship.
So now the Ark crashes into the side of a volcano and lays dormant for 4 million years, which is the same as what happens in the show.
Ooh, God. Gosh golly.
The volcano erupts, and just in case you wanted to know what a volcanic eruption sounds like, It's Vashtroom, according to this. Vashtroom. Vashtroom. So that's what a volcano sounds like. The text sets the date as 1984 when the volcano erupts. So that's when we are, 1984 now. The Ark sends out a drone to survey the planet for life, but being from Cybertron, it doesn't pick up on carbon-based life forms, and instead it scans an airplane, which looks like an attacking Decepticon. So it returns to the Ark, though it does note that this planet is not Cybertron, and they're not even in the same solar system as Cybertron used to be in.
Can we take a moment to look at the drone?
Yeah, you're right.
It looks like one of those really shitty little like satellites that send to Mars or something, like a rover.
Oh, this is like a, yeah.
You know,
Stick a dish on it. That's futuristic.
like when you think drone nowadays, this looks nothing like a drone. They just looked at some Apollo mission photo and they're like, we'll just take this thing, you know, and we'll run with this.
It's got like a long arm sticking out of it with just bits on the end, like not even recognizable as anything, just shapes.
It looks so weird, but it's also like I can see back in the den that's what they would expect drones to look like, you know. But it does make sense to be scanning. It wouldn't be scanning for like carbon-based life forms, more metallic-based life forms.
Right, there's some really funny stuff to do with that coming up as well. The drone returns to the Ark. It comes across a highway, which it says in the text is in Oregon. So yeah, Transformers takes place in Oregon, in the comics at least. But seeing all the cars there overloads the drone, and it picks up other forms of machinery as well, which didn't exist on Cybertron. So it makes its way back to the Ark and begins the revival procedures on all of the robots that are in there. Using the data it collected, it rebuilds the robots inside the Ark to be able to take forms similar to those it observed in the environment to ensure survival. But it can't distinguish between Autobots and Decepticons, and therefore just rebuilds everybody who was inside at the time of the crash. They'll all be rebuilt close to their original specs, which is why the Autobots and Decepticons are still different when it comes to alt modes. Everybody begins to wake up, Autobot and Decepticon. Prime says that they have to finish what they started. And then what comes next is this huge double-page info dump where everyone has to say their own name and what they can do from the Decepticon side. Lots of the colors are really different, and some of the personalities aren't quite there either.
Yeah.
But hey, they just woke up. Give them a break.
They gotta introduce themselves, right? So they gotta let the audience know who they are.
So then we get introduced to Megatron, Skywarp, Thundercracker, Starscream, Rumble, Frenzy, Ravage, Buzzsaw, Soundwave, and Laserbeak. Ravage is talking again here too.
I'm sorry, I gotta give it to this unnamed robot that like revives all of the Autobots and Decepticons. Like
this yellow thing.
He did a great freaking job.
Yeah, right.
For someone who has no idea, like look, if you look behind him, there are parts everywhere.
Yeah.
Like this is like a Lego builder's nightmare when everything is mixed in with one another. Like you think he'd Frankenstein some pieces with other parts, but he does a bloody good job. So kudos to you, unknown robot.
Yeah, well done, yellow mechanic thing. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that. Megatron says that the Ark shared information with everyone, so the Decepticons know that Earth has lots of untapped resources that they can use to fight back, and Starscream asks, why not just wipe them out now? But Megatron says no, they're weak. One of their mightiest is missing, and that they will attack when they have a better opportunity. They transform, and, well, it says retreat, but that implies that they had somewhere to go back to, but they don't yet. So I call this running away. Like, this is not retreating, this is just running away.
Hey, you see Soundwave somehow flying in that shot as well.
Yeah, there's lots of things that are a bit weird. So yeah, I wouldn't call that retreat. I would call that running away, but I'm sure Megatron would not enjoy me saying that.
Yeah, he's advancing in the opposite direction.
I'm advancing away. So now it's the Autobots' turn to introduce themselves. So we get Prime, of course. Ironhide looking so weird. I don't know what's going on with him there. He doesn't even have legs.
Very strange.
It's got like tank treads, but only on one side of his body. And it doesn't look like he has a head.
Yeah, I was going to say, does he not have a head?
No, and there's a big missile or something. There's like a big missile or something in the middle of his body too. Like, what a weird picture to pick to introduce him with. And he says, I've got a bunch of new liquids I want to test out in my water gun. Yes, sirree. Which, just poor choice of phrasing there too. Ugh. There's Huffer, who I feel like barely features in the G1 cartoon, but he's in this a lot. Bumblebee, who says his levers love a good swim, which makes it sound like he's going to be a boat.
Yeah.
But his shape is pretty weird here as well. So I don't know if he was originally going to be a boat, but he gets turned into a car.
You think?
There's also Sunstreaker, Cliffjumper, and Brawn, who looks pretty much like he does in the cartoon. And there's Sideswipe as well. Mirage, Blue Streak, Prowl, Jazz, and Hound, who looks like the gigantic green guy from earlier. So maybe that was just him before the war. There's Windcharger, who says he'll zoom ahead and scrap a Decept between my magnetic arms. I guess that's meant to be short for Decepticon, and totally not a mistake. Gears and Ratchet, who, like Ironhide, just look nothing like anything.
Yeah, he looks pretty weird, doesn't he? Like you can't see a lot of. You can see his face is like there's a screen in front of his face for some reason.
Yeah. He's got 2 arms, but then like a third one in the middle with a giant spike on it.
A weird ambulance leg or add-on. I don't know what that is.
And it looks like a lawnmower at the bottom. I don't know what's going on there. Wheeljack looks pretty much like the finished Wheeljack, though.
Yeah, he does.
And then lastly, there's Trailbreaker, who looks pretty much close to the final version, too. There's so many more Autobots, though. Like, I don't know what Starscream thought they were going to do. Prime asks Huffer how bad he thinks the damage to the Ark is, and Huffer says that he'll need to run some scans, but it looks pretty bleak. Prime says that now they may have to accept that Cybertron is gone, but if it isn't, he'll get them back there. And he says here something pretty weird. He says, let Auntie collect signals and put them on the monitors. But actually, the wiki helped me out here. That's just Teletran 1. So I guess in the early days, it was going to be called Auntie, which feels so weird and out of place. That's one change I'm really glad they decided to make. Like, that's weird. For a few hours, they all watch and get information about Earth from Teletran 1/Auntie. And Prime notes that millennia ago, when they were planned to pass by the Earth was completely empty. And now that they and the Decepticons have landed here, it's their duty to get rid of the Decepticons and to protect life on this planet from them. Because it's their fault that they ended up there.
Yeah. Also, I think the thing is, Optimus can't promise them he can take them back to Cybertron because they've been here for so long. They can't even tell them if it's still there.
Right, it's been 4 million years, yeah.
Yeah, so like honestly, he doesn't know. And he can't say he knows, so he's like, listen, I don't know if it's still there, but if it is, I'll try to take you guys back home, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
He's being more realistic, which I like a lot more because it's more like realistic than, oh, it's there. Don't worry. I know it's there.
Yeah, I'll get you home. Like, it might not be there.
Don't lie to them, just tell them how it is, you know?
That's Prime, that sounds like Prime, right?
Yeah. Straightforward.
In the current comic that Daniel Warren Johnson is writing, for now it's about to change to Robert Kirkman, the writing really leans hard into that, and it's like excellently executed. Prime's guilt really comes through and like clearly weighs on him. One of the covers for issue 9, which they use as a variant cover for that book that you bought, is like Prime holding the Earth on his back, and the Earth is like covered in cracks. It's amazing. So it's really interesting to see a seed of that here. So I wonder how much they'll explore that in the series as it goes along. We get introduced to some human characters here. There's an auto shop that says S. Witwicky Repair. So the father here is clearly Sparkplug, but the son is called Buster. And the wiki helped me out again there. Early on, Spike was the original name, but then somebody involved with producing the cartoon said that it was too aggressive sounding, and so they changed it to Buster. And then they started to make the comic. And in the end, the cartoon ended up going with Spike anyway. But here in the comic, he stays as Buster, I think. The wiki said that Butch was another name they had considered for him too.
Oh.
So Sparkplug is fixing up a car, and he's a little bit annoyed that Buster is home late. Buster explains that he's been studying, hoping to get a scholarship, which says will mean less bills for his dad to pay for college. And his dad says that he knows he's doing his best, but Buster always having his nose in a book really bothers him, and he wishes he would do something more useful that will lead to a job.
Listen here, you little shit. Stop studying.
Right? It sounds a bit harsh on Buster.
The kid's just trying to get better grades, man. At least he's like not out joyriding, you know. He's having a good thing studying.
It sounds like Buster kind of wants to have a different kind of job than mechanic, but Sparkplug lets Buster go out to the movies with his friends, and we see his thoughts about hoping his son knows that he only wants what's best for him, and that he thinks the world will eat him up if he doesn't have any practical skills. And I might be like way overthinking this, but going into 80s and 90s comics compared to comics now is like a massive rabbit hole. But like for an 80s comic, setting up this kind of complicated misunderstanding between them and like presenting their relationship as being pretty warm, like they clearly both care about each other despite their differences in opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of depth is really rare on its own. But to do all that in like one page, I've never read anything that does that so fast from like that time period. So I really genuinely think those 2 pages are really nicely done.
You know, they're like, we can't give humans too much in this comic. You know, they don't want to see them. They want to see the robots.
Yeah, stuff it all into 2 pages. Yeah, I guess you're right. Right after that, there's a really goofy hitchhiker waiting for a ride, and like a reconnaissance team of Autobots in car mode drive past him, and he's like, oh, nobody's driving. They picked up some vital machine signs, whatever that means, and they're going to go check out whatever that is. But they find a drive-in full of cars, and the cars are all pointed at the movie screen. So this is really funny to me. Like the Autobots don't understand that the images of the humans on the screen, like, is a movie. They like assume a weird ritual is going on, and all the cars are the life forms on Earth.
They found a cult.
I thought that was really funny and clever. Yeah, they thought it was like some weird cult, but like we don't have drive-ins in England. So how about in Kuwait? Do you have one there?
We used to have one way back when, but then it stopped, and now it's too hot for those, so we just stick to normal, traditional cinemas.
But yeah, I thought it was really funny. They detected all these cars in one place and then went to see what was going on. Laserbeak was following the Autobots and reports what they found to the Decepticons, who at this point don't have a base and they're just like hanging out on a rock. So that's cool.
Also, Laserbeak talks.
Laserbeak talks too, yeah. So they realize that the Autobots want to form an alliance with the inhabitants of Earth, which might stop them from getting the energy they want and bolster their numbers. So Megatron orders the Decepticons to attack. The Autobots go into the drive-in and plan to just stake it out, still thinking that these cars are like the inhabitants of Earth. They drive past the drive-in cashier, who's confused to see empty self-driving cars.
All right, how many? Come on. You pay by the head,
Whoa, they're empty.
Well, he did pay by the head, and I don't see no heads in the car, so technically...
It's free. So this is where, remember the cover had that old man and a young boy. This is where that gets really inappropriate, because Buster is getting very hot and heavy in the front seat of his car.
With his friend
and there's just like his friend Pavan in the back seat, and he just asked him to move so he can see.
Why would you bring your friend with you to the movies if you're gonna do that with a chick?
When you were planning to do that.
Oh man.
Right, what an awkward third wheel. Anyway, for some reason he's still trying to watch the movie, and it turns out his name is O. I don't know if he ever gets a full name, but they just call him O. Buster's lady friend there has quite a figure, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Let Noel hang out.
But for some reason, no shoes.
No shoes. That's the first thing I take off when I'm in the mood.
Off with your socks.
Oh, you dirty minx.
When the socks come off, you know it's business time.
Maybe that's his thing. Maybe he's got a fetish.
So we have so much depth about this scene. It's insane.
Yeah. Who do you think he picked up first? Like, either way, it's awkward.
No. Clearly, he picked up his bro in the back, right? And then while they were like driving to the theaters, he might have saw this girl and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'll go with you." And he's like, "Get in the back." And he's like, "But you said, oh, get in the back, so help me God."
Come sit up in the front with me. Take off your shoes. Oh dear.
And then, of course, Bumblebee just decides to say hello in his weird little way.
Yeah, so they're like canoodling. And then Bumblebee like rear ends Buster's car, and he's really worried that his dad is going to be mad. So he gets out to check the damage, and he sees Bumblebee in car mode without a driver. So a couple of pages ago, B said he loves to swim. But one, does Cybertron even have water? And two, by this point in the comic, it's clear he's going to be a car. So maybe there was some earlier draft that should have been re-edited or something. But what was he going on about? Love a swim. It's a weird thing to say for a car. The Decepticons attack. Bumblebee reacts with, "Oh!" I don't know how to read that. Like, it seems like such mild surprise. Like, Buster and Jesse...
Oh, snap!
While Buster and Jesse and O are, like, thrown onto the ground by laser fire, the other two say they should run off, but for some reason, Buster, having heard Bumblebee's "oh," which he says was a cry of pain, wants to stay and check it out. The other Autobots comment that the Earth vehicles have done nothing to defend themselves from the Decepticon attack, and they say they had to do something, so they transform. Starscream complains about being ordered to make a frontal assault, and it looks like Thundercracker is the one to say, "Just do as you're told, stop contesting Megatron." Quote, "As you've been known to do." So even like way back in the beginning, they're setting him up to be a troublemaker.
Yeah, always defying him.
And Brawn punches the crap out of Laserbeak, and Sideswipe waits for his opportunity to attack.
It looks like Laserbeak's wing is just broken.
And this is some really 80s comic dialogue. "So, Starscream, you strike at me because you think isolation makes me vulnerable? You have obviously never flown in the face of my glass gas gun." Yeah! The gas coats me, making my metal brittle and breakable as glass. Like, this is a visual medium. You don't need to you don't need to tell me. You can just show me with the pictures. But they really did that a lot back in the 80s. But actually, having read further ahead to like prepare for the other episodes, that doesn't happen that much. They're quite good about the dialogue. It doesn't get so clunky often. Starscream tells Thundercracker that they have to retreat, while Hound worries about where Bumblebee has got to. Ravage is skulking about in the shadows and relays the Autobot position to the remaining Decepticons. Hound fools Ravage with a hologram, while Prowl and Sideswipe tussle with Soundwave. Cliffjumper and Sideswipe finally notice the humans and realize that they were controlling the cars that they'd seen before. And they make a really smart move here, I think. Their new realization changes everything they previously thought about the entire situation and like the whole planet in general. And they just decide to go back and tell Prime about it in person, knowing that both Soundwave and Ravage are close by and can pick up any transmission they might make.
Yeah.
So like, that's solid tactic. A Hound asks, what about Bumblebee? Prowl says they need to draw the Decepticon fire away and that perhaps Bumblebee already left ahead of them. Buster checks out the damage to Bumblebee and he says that he can still hear a sound almost like crying coming from the car, and it's leaking something that isn't oil.
Oh, poor Bee.
Yeah. I know, and this, don't forget, he was injured before the battle. He was taken out by ramming himself into somebody else. So he decides he should ask his dad to take a look at it, and he decides to drive Bumblebee home. But when he gets in the car, he finds out there's no ignition and no key, and that the car moves by itself. So all he's doing is just like guiding it with a steering wheel.
Yeah, it's really just steering it around.
Mm-hmm. Buster's mind is racing about having seen robots fight planes and then turn into cars. He gets the car to his dad's shop, and he starts working on it. Sparkplug hears the noise.
With the deuce?
Yeah. Sparkplug hears the noise and comes down to see what's going on. And when he finds Buster working on the car, he's so happy about it that he doesn't even ask Buster where the car he left in is, which Buster like left at the drive-in with a dent in the bumper.
Yeah.
But he says that Buster can use the shop whenever he wants, and he's so proud to see him put down a book and work on a car with his hands. Buster tells his dad that he has no idea about cars, and that's why he brought this one to him to take a look at. He tells Sparkplug it's not only a car. Sparkplug says, it's got wheels, boy, fenders and headlights too. Just what would you call it?
Alive!
Yeah, one or other, or both of them, yell, alive!
And then you just hear poor Bumblebee like, help me, please! I'm dying!
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what he says. Help me, I'm dying. I'm like, come on, Pete, you bumped into a fender a little bit. How are you bleeding out already? Like, I don't know, maybe one of the lasers hit him in like a critical place or something. And that's the end of the issue. Poor B. Number 2, Power Play. All right, so right at the top, there's a recap of the last issue, which I'm sure you don't need, but I think it will be a good idea to recap really quickly each time. So I'll read what it says here. It says, 4 million years ago, they came from Cybertron, a world composed entirely of machinery. A world torn by an age-old war between the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons. These incredibly powerful living robots, capable of converting themselves into land and air vehicles, weapons, and other mechanical forms, continue their conflict here on Earth. They are the Transformers. So that's where things left off the last issue. And in the number 1, we had a few pages first before we got to the credits. But we're right into them this time. They're right down here at the bottom. So we got Bill Mantlo on the plot. Jim Salicrup on the script this time. We had Ralph Macchino for issue 1. Frank Springer is still on pencils. Kim DeMolder is on ink. Janice Chiang is on letters. Sheesh, we had 2 people doing the letters last time. This time, Janice just did it all solo. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And Nell Yomtov on colors. And then Bob Budiansky and Jim Shooter are the editor and editor-in-chief. So a couple of changes from last time. So yeah, right here on page 1, the Decepticons ran off out of the Ark once they were rebuilt and immediately started searching for a power source to use to charge up and to take the fight to the Autobots. Even though the numbers are heavily in favor of the Autobots, maybe they figure their weapons are powerful enough to make up for it.
Yeah. In other iterations, they have, like, they would stay and they would fight. Right. And, like, sometimes they'd be like, all right, cool. Like, and, like, maybe they're, like you said, like, they were outmanned and outgunned. So they were like, we need to go.
Yeah, they just run away.
Like, we got to get up out of here now. And
the Decepticons don't have a base yet. So they're just kind of hanging out on this rock, checking out the power station. And Megatron says that it has the fuel that they need and that they need to go down there and take it. So it was hinted last issue that Starscream kind of often tries to contradict Megatron. And he does that here. He says that they should probably just send Buzzsaw down first to scout ahead. And Megatron notes that and he's really annoyed that Starscream is trying to undermine him again, but he begrudgingly thinks to himself that like the advice is actually pretty good. So I thought it was a nice touch that Megatron decides to follow his advice and send a scout, but he pulls rank a little bit because he sends Ravage instead of Buzzsaw.
He can't give him everything. Like
Yeah, I thought it was a nice counterattack. Like, oh shit, he's actually right, but I don't want him to be completely right. So
I want to implement it my way.
And Starscream says, "As you wish, great Megatron." And I don't know about you, but I couldn't help but hear that in Starscream's like sarcastic voice from the cartoon.
It's like, as you wish, great Megatron.
Ravage sneaks in, and it mentions here how Ravage becomes totally invisible in shadow. And there's a worker there recording a progress report about the power station. It's not fully built yet, so he's like recording how things are going on his tape recorder. But he says that his tape's running out, and Ravage sees a chance to hop into the tape recorder and get some information. So he transforms into a tape and jumps into the guy's pouch so that the next tape the guy's going to grab is going to be him.
There's no way.
No. I know.
No way. And I get it. It's the 1980s or whatever, but holy moly donut shop.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
Right.
So the guy puts him into the tape recorder and continues his report, which now Ravage is recording to take back to the Decepticons. And it's so funny. For some reason, the guy here gets a full name. So the text boxes tell us his name is Jason Boyd. But he never comes up again, like, after this. So I don't know why they gave him a first name and a last name. Maybe he's going to be important later, and that's why he's getting a name now. But it stuck out to me as a weird time for, like, a first name, last name introduction. And I know it's in the show, too, and not just here, but it's not really important, you know. You just have to just go with it. But on page 1, Ravage is up to about knee height on the other Decepticons, and now he's transforming to be the same size as a regular cassette tape. That's just like physically impossible.
I'm like, where does it all go?
Yeah, there's no way. So the next page here has Ravage returning to the Decepticons, but it says hours later. But I think the standard cassette tape is like 90 minutes long, right?
Like maybe he just kept like transforming himself like in and out. Like he'll take out a tape, transform it, and like go back. Back into the tape deck or whatever.
Maybe he's got some really advanced like long play Decepticon technology going on. Ravage explains the energy harnessing human technology he found, but also that there are lots of strange life forms like the ones they saw in their battle at the drive-in. And there's a picture here of Prowl shooting Megatron like point blank in the face.
Right. In the face.
That's a new picture. It wasn't even in the last issue. That's pretty funny.
Like Prowl's like, I got something for you. It's like, it goes pew pew pew.
Right in the face. Point blank. Look, that's not even a meter away.
It's literally
in his face.
It's like his whole face. I'm like, oh my goodness. And Megatron just shrugs it off.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Like, and he just oh.
So Megatron summarizes their current situation. They're stuck on Earth with the humans, and the machines they've seen on Earth were built by the humans and have no will of their own, which must be kind of weird for them to see, I guess. But he says that the humans have the technology to fuel them and that they need that to live. So we get to hear what Starscream is thinking now. And he says that Megatron is smart to have figured all this out, and that he can't let his desire to lead the Decepticons let him underestimate Megatron. And he's got a weird blue face situation going on here. And he's got big eyebrows too. I don't know if it's like a coloring mistake or if he was going to have a blue face in the early designs. Because the plans for all the toys and the cartoon appearances are still not finalized at this point. Which is, that's crazy thinking about it, because there's only a few months after this comic that go by, and then the cartoon starts airing. So they must have been cutting it pretty close, I think.
Right.
Megatron decides they need fuel and a base from which they can gather more fuel. So he orders the Decepticons to attack. And attack is in big purple letters. That looks really neat. Skywarp, Starscream, and Thundercracker transform, and Soundwave jumps into Thundercracker in cassette player form. Laserbeak and Buzzsaw join too, and at Megatron's command, they all head to the power station.
I didn't know that he had 2 birds.
Yeah, Buzzsaw is in the cartoon, but I guess not that much. Because I had to look that up myself.
I remember the bat. I don't remember Buzzsaw. That's what I was like, huh?
Same, yeah, I had to look it up. But there are some Transformers in the cartoon that like just pop in and out here and there. And like they'll be in an episode and then they won't be in it again for ages. So yeah, Buzzsaw is in the comic right here. And actually, so far in the comic, Buzzsaw and Ravage and Laserbeak haven't gone into Soundwave's chest yet. So they're kind of treating them as if they're like full like Decepticons on their own, which I don't think they are.
Exactly.
Actually, there are in just this one panel where all of them are transforming is pretty crazy. You have to remember, like, this is in the 80s, so there's no, like, digital art. This is all, someone had to hand draw all of this, which must have been such a pain. And the lettering, too, actually, I mentioned it the last issue, too. Like, I love comics in general anyway. Like, I know how important letterers are in comics, and it's really hard for me to appreciate them when, you know, there's, like, a a whole story that's been written and all this amazing art and all these colors. I know letters are so important, but it's hard for me to give them as much attention. But in this comic, there are so many text boxes and so much text. Somebody had to like put that there by hand. Like, that's insane.
That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
And so last issue, there were 2 people on it, but this time there's just 1. So 1 person by hand put all these in. Like, it's insane. I don't know how they even did that. The text says that Laserbeak and Buzzsaw are in their Decepticon modes, which I guess means they're untransformed modes. I don't know. They keep going back and forth with these modes names. Megatron tells Thundercracker to let them hear his battle cry, and he lets out a sonic boom that it says is heard 100 miles away, which is like insane. Yeah. Anyone close by should at least be permanently deaf if their heads haven't like exploded completely. Like, what? 100 miles away, that's okay. And with that, they start their attack. So Starscream drops some cluster bombs, Thundercracker keeps laying out more audio attacks, and Skywarp uses machine gun fire. And then the second wave of Decepticons arrive, so Ravis jumps out of the shadows. In this panel, he looks massive. He looks gigantic.
I'm thinking that he can control his size. Like, there's just no way. Like, that's the only way I can like put it in my head. He looks so big in that panel.
Yeah, he's like at least the size of like 1.5 humans.
Right. And I'm like, the thing is like that poor person is like, nah. I'm like, yeah.
He's about to be dead. Yeah, that's terrifying. Buzzsaw bursts through a wall for like no reason, just decides to show us what they can do, I guess. And Frenzy jams a construction worker's walkie-talkie. So everyone gets a chance to show like what their abilities are, which I guess is their way of like introducing the characters.
Right.
Soundwave is getting orders from Megatron, who's hanging back and controlling the situation. Actually, this is a really good idea, and they never use this in the show. Megatron is always there, like, and things heat up, and then he makes everyone retreat usually. But this time, Megatron's like hanging back and he's watching everything from a distance, which is like actually a solid idea.
But like, because like you said, he's always in the fray, right? And then he gets hit one time. He's like, Decepticons retreat. I'm like,
every time.
Like, what are you doing?
And not just like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm gonna leave. No, everyone's leaving.
It's my party.
We're done. Megatron says they need the technology from the power plant. So Rumble shakes the ground to loosen everything so that Thundercracker and Starscream can transform along with the others and pick it all up and just run off into the night with it. So they stole the power plant, basically. So after that, we're catching up with the Witwikis. Sparkplug's son in the comic, he's named Buster, not Spike. He brought Bumblebee there after he was injured in last issue's brawl at the drive-in. So Bumblebee's like groaning and he's saying that he's going to die without help. And Sparkplug thinks that Buster is playing some kind of trick on him. And Buster says that he knows he sounds crazy, but the car is alive and he needs help. So Sparkplug says that he can take a joke, but this is kind of getting a bit much. And Buster persists and begs his dad to take a look at the car. So Sparkplug agrees and he starts to check the car over. And he finally asks where the car he lent Buster and his friends last night is, because he didn't come home with that car.
Right.
And Buster explains that he was rear-ended by the driverless Bumblebee and how 3 jets blew up the other car.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells Sparkplug about the cars that transformed into giant robots and they started fighting the jets. And while he's telling him about that, Sparkplug's kind of looking at the car and he finds like a leaky fuel line or something. So like at this point, he's really underreacting to this story and having found out that this other car got, blown up.
In total, exactly.
He's like, He's saying, he says there, he's like, And then finally Sparkplug like actually starts to react, a little bit more like you would expect and says like, I don't know what they put in that popcorn at the drive-in, but I hope it's not habit forming.
Right.
Long way of saying he doesn't believe the story. But Buster keeps pleading with him to fix Bumblebee. And then that's when Sparkplug starts to react a bit more. He says to Buster that this is just a car and that cars don't transform into robots, and especially one that's leaking oil.
Right.
And Buster says, that's not oil, it's blood. And Sparkplug says, I don't know what's got into you, but it looks like the only way I'll get some sleep around here is to fix that blasted car. So Buster thanks him and Sparkplug starts to look at the underside of Bumblebee properly. And quickly he sees it's not like a regular car. Whatever's underneath Bumblebee, it's not, I don't know if it's a big pair of balls or what, but it's not a regular car. So hours later, he says that all he could do was fix the fuel line and tune up some parts. And last issue, I was saying how like feeble they made Bumblebee look because he like rear ends Buster, but you don't really see him get injured in the fight. Yeah. So it's like, was that the thing that made him almost die? Like just crashing into another car, or does he get shot by like a stray laser or something?
Like,
yeah.
But there's in the panel, why does he look like he's about to attack his dad?
Oh, you're right. He looks like he's about to do like a chomp on him or something. What's that arm? Yeah, what's he doing with his arms there?
Like he's like, oh yeah, you're not gonna listen to me? Karate chop.
Yeah, you're right. That's a weird pose.
Right, it's a weird pose.
Actually, speaking of the panel underneath that, there's a Sparkplug looking at the underside of the car, and his mouth's open, like he's gonna like lick the oil out. Like, what are you doing? The way he's leaking fluid and saying he's gonna die, it's like that fuel line was like a major artery or something. Maybe, I don't know. But Sparkplug managed to fix it up, and he says that he's never seen a car like this one. And Buster turns to look at Bumblebee, who starts to make some clanking noises, and Sparkplug says, "What the?" And then the background of the panels turned red, which is like a neat detail.
Right.
So Bumblebee transforms, and finally Sparkplug gets to see that Buster was telling the truth. But understandably, he's still really shocked and surprised, and he says, "It's alive!" And Bumblebee says that that's thanks to him, and that he's as good a mechanic as his friend Ratchet. Sparkplug says, "You mean there are others like you?" And Buster says, "I told you about the battle." Sparkplug asks who Bumblebee is, and he replies that his code name is Bumblebee, which means that that's not his actual name. So I wonder what the Transformers' original names were, and who came up with all the code names and why they picked what they did.
I think it was like B128. Remember in...
Oh, Transformers 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have...
You know, like B128.
Oh, that's true. Maybe they just have like serial numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Bumblebee explains that the Transformers are from Cybertron and that they need fuel, and Sparkplug offers some gasoline. But Buster points out that Transformers probably don't run on premium unleaded, and Bumblebee says that maybe Huffer can come up with some kind of conversion process. And for some reason, Sparkplug says, "Oh, I can do that." Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just a really bold claim, considering he only learned the Transformers existed about 2 sentences ago. He's like, "Yeah, I can make petrol work in your body. That's fine.
I can make Energon. Yeah, no worries. I can do that."
Yeah, like...
I can make Energon.
He doesn't even know what that is.
Right, exactly. Like, how do you... What?
So either like he's some kind of engineering savant, or he's like just extremely self-confident. I don't know. No. I want to add, like, at this point, like, we're both ragging on it a bit and making fun of it in places, but like, I'm really enjoying reading these comics, and I think it's important to make it clear early on that I think these are great fun to read, but I'm not gonna like ignore the flaws and pretend that they're perfect.
Exactly.
So I think it's possible to love something and think it's really wonky, and then like even still love that it's wonky too.
They thought this was okay back in the day, and they talk about, oh, like the 80s was so cool, and and I'm just like, oh.
That's true. The amount of 80s movies that you can go back and watch, and they're like just nonsense or like such a mess. It doesn't stop them being really fun, but they can at least, you know, acknowledge that they're not great.
It's like prime example. It's like watching like Masters of the Universe, or you're like watching a Flash Gordon. Like
Flash Gordon for me, yeah, I love Flash Gordon.
Like, we know those movies are like wonky and funny, but they still hold.
They're still so much fun, yeah.
And they're still so much fun to like watch. Like they hold through the test of time, and I'm like, that's the point.
And on the other hand, I've been putting out the parts that really stand out to me as well done or clever too. I like Megatron's really subtle counterattack to Starscream being underhanded. So like I kind of hope I can stay balanced like that for the entire series, because I think there's going to be plenty of jank. And I think like this original comic is really famous for like having done the most interesting lore and like the coolest stories with Transformers. So I'm really excited to see those things come up. But for right now, in the beginning, there's a lot of goofiness going on, and I enjoy that too. So yeah, I'm poking fun at it, but I'm never going to be just negative about it for no reason or tear it down. That's not me, and that's not really fun or interesting, I don't think.
Exactly.
Anyway, so our super genius mechanic asks where the rest of the Autobots are, and Bumblebee says that they're probably back at the Ark. So Buster says he'd love to go see a spaceship, and Bumblebee says, "Okay, hop in." So they go off to go find the other Autobots. Bumblebee says that he'll deliver the offer of fuel conversion to Prime. On the way back to the Ark, he explains the Cybertronian War and the Transformers' arrival on Earth to Buster, and it really made me laugh because Buster learns about like all this. He learns about intelligent life on another planet, and it's here on Earth, and they're all sentient transforming robots. And his reply to all of that is, "Wow." And that's it. That was so funny to me.
Wow.
That's all. Wow. And then right after that, a bunch of coincidences happen at once. This is pretty contrived. But okay. Ravage just changed size again, and he's stalking around in the city, and he comes upon and recognizes Jesse and O, who are Buster's friends. So he like recognizes them as being the people who are friends with the person who made contact with Bumblebee. So, you know, that whole fight was going on, but he took notice of this. And O just happens to be carrying a boombox. And there's a cool little name drop here, actually. On the radio, the announcer says that the song that just finished playing was by Dazzler. Mm-hmm. So there was a cool little bit of the Marvel universe making its way into this comic, which I thought was really neat.
A little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there. Perfect.
Right. So that confirms at one point Transformers and like the rest of the Marvel universe existed in the same place.
In the same place. Yep. Then that's
cool. And that must not have lasted long. Thanks to that boombox that O happens to be holding, Ravage is able to transform and jump into the cassette deck. Another thing here about this, like when you put a cassette in the cassette player, you have to press the eject button to open it, right?
Right.
So I don't know, Ravage, can he just like use his jump to transform? Because he like runs, jumps and transforms, and somehow he's able to like perfectly control his descent so he can go into the cassette deck, which is impressive because you can't always even get it in right the first time. Sometimes you get it in wonky and you have to like take it back out and twist it and put it back. But like, what? Because can he use that jump to like bonk the eject button first and then bounce back and go in? Like it's another one of those things. It doesn't make sense and you have to roll with it. And in the grand scheme of this massive story about intergalactic talking robots,
right?
Like maybe you just have to go with things sometimes. But
here's another thing that actually got me like remiss about some things or whatever, right? So Ravage is talking.
Yes, yeah, he can in this.
Like in this,
I don't know if that continues for the whole series, but the first 1 and 2, he is talking or thinking.
That's pretty crazy. I was just like, because Ravage, Ravage doesn't talk like the others.
Does that like.
Yeah, exactly right. As it's probably like some type of like sound wave, like he like like it's like he probably
maybe
noise. And he probably like, of course, Soundwave can listen to him. I always wanted this like to see or hear Ravage talk, like just to be like even if it was like little small words that it could say or whatever. And like
I like it too. So I kind of hope it stays that way through the rest of the comic, but I don't know. After issue 4 is when things will be really set, I think, because right now everything's all mushy juice.
Because it's the same thing with like Laserbeak. Laserbeak can't talk, but Laserbeak records and shows everything or whatever. So I'm like, okay.
So so he manages to get inside the boombox just as Buster drives by in Bumblebee and spots them. So like he's driving down the street in a car and then just like sees his friends and he's like, oh, and like stop. Like I don't know. I don't drive, so I'm not sure, but that feels a little bit like convenient to me.
Like just to be like at the right place at the right time. It's like
just driving along in your car, paying enough attention to the pedestrians that you recognize 2 of them and stop. I don't know. Does that happen? Maybe it happens.
Well, sometimes if you're like
depends how fast he's going, right?
Then like he's in traffic.
Yeah, maybe he stopped. Maybe there's a traffic light that's out of panel or something. Anyway, so it's all very convenient. Everybody's in the same place. And O tells Buster that the jets from the drive-in have attacked the nuclear plant. And Bumblebee asks what the nuclear plant is. And Buster explains that it's a source of energy. Bumblebee says that they can't let the Decepticons have it, and that Sparkplug needs to hurry up and come up with a way to convert energy for Autobots. But like just before that, Bumblebee's asking a question about the power plant. And O just says, oh, Jess, Buster's car just talked. And she says, I noticed. And that's it. That's the extent of their reaction to that. Everyone's so chill.
Everybody's like, oh, okay, that's cool. What? Like, it just talks. Like
Bumblebee also says that he has less energy currently than he thought he did, so they should go back to Sparkplug's garage. And Buster really briefly explains the Autobot and energy situation to his friends, and O says, it's too late to get on That's Incredible. It's cancelled. I read that a few times over because I was totally lost there. I didn't know what that meant. But luckily, the Transformers wiki helped me out. It's referencing an American TV show, which was real in real life and got cancelled in 1984 when this came out. So they're referencing like a real world TV show that got cancelled.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ravage has been recording this whole conversation, and he gets out of the tape deck to go and deliver what he overheard about Sparkplug's energy conversion plans to Megatron. Back at the Ark, Teletran 1 confirms that their energy reserves are low, and because of that, they're really vulnerable right now to a Decepticon attack. So the Autobots have a bit of a debate here, which I really like, actually. They need fuel, and Mirage says that they should just go out and take it, but Prowl says no, this planet's life forms have a right to their own resources, and then Prime decides that they should establish contact with the humans, ally with them, and then barter for resources fairly. So there's like a lot of character building happening in like just this one panel. It shows that Prowl and Prime are the leaders, and they're a bit more thoughtful than some of the others. And Prime calls the shots, but the way he says, like, fear not, fellow Autobots, it sounds like Prime from the cartoon.
Right.
He's like in charge, and he's making decisions, but he's not being demanding or like dictating. He comes off like really kind, but in control. I like that a lot about him as a leader.
Right. There's this one part where like at the bottom where they were discussing everything. I'd never thought I would hear Prowl say this. And like maybe it was just the way they were writing it. It says, Bob, the Decepticons will not pander to this world's populace. They will simply seize what they need. Perhaps Mirage is on the wrong side. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. Right after Prime lays out the plan of action, he takes like a final vote and he says, if anyone has a problem with this plan, like, you let me know now. So he's being really democratic. But then, yeah, Mirage doesn't say anything, but in that thought bubble, like he said,
that's like, that was a thought bubble too. I'm just like, yo, homie.
Like, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this war because the Decepticons are not going to deal with this nonsense. They're just going to go get what they want. And in the close-up here at the bottom, you can see they've changed Prime's eyes. In the first issue, they were these like giant downward-pointing triangles. They made him look really upset and sad all the time. They've changed them to be a bit closer to the ones he has in the show now. Just then, Hound gets an emergency broadcast on the Autobot distress frequency from Bumblebee, who's, if you look closely, his name is spelled Bumblebee down here.
Bumblebee.
Prime's speech bubble, yeah. I think so. What happened was IDW a long time ago tried to recolor this and like touch it up, and it's messed up some of the lettering, I think. So I think the letterer originally did a good job, but whatever they did, I don't know how they updated it, but it's mangled some of the letters in the first issue and in this one as well.
I was gonna talk about that actually because like some of the words, I'm like, what? Like, did they like intentionally misspell that or something? I was just like, what? Why is this misspelled? Like, why? What is this?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it'll get changed properly before they print these. Bumblebee and Sparkplug have made a communicator from spare parts, and Bumblebee tells them about the Decepticons having acquired a lot of power. And he says that they need to find their own fuel source and that he's found someone who can help them convert that fuel into usable energy. But all this time, I guess they're assuming that the Decepticons have a way to use the energy because they're really panicking that the Decepticons have found it. But they don't have a way to use it themselves. I guess they just figure the Decepticons do have a way to do it. I don't know.
I think it's like a basically like, oh, well, first come, first serve. Whoever gets there first, like.
And that's true.
They don't know what the other side is doing.
Right. Yeah. And if they're going to convert it, I guess it makes sense that the other side would do the same thing. The Autobots are going to follow the signal and head to Sparkplug's. I'm British, so I say garage, but you say garage, right?
Yeah, garage.
Workshop. Sparkplug's workshop. Prime says Autobots convert to Earth modes. And earlier on, we had mention of Decepticon modes too, so it looks like they're still trying to figure out what to call each mode.
Right.
But anyway, the Autobots roll out, and they leave Ratchet behind to continue repairs on the Ark. The Decepticons use the parts of the power plant that they stole to make this like base on the cliff, which is similar to in issue 1, how they had like Castle Decepticon on Cybertron.
Yeah.
Now they've made like Castle Decepticon on Earth or whatever. Ravage relays his information to Megatron, whose eyes have also changed now. I liked his big bug eyes in the first issue, but they're like his final ones now. Megatron says that they need to capture the human and force him to convert the energy for them, or else they're going to kill him. So it seems like nobody has a way to make the energy usable yet.
Right.
But I guess it wasn't a bad assumption on the Autobots' part that the Decepticons have a way to use the energy they stole. The Decepticons transform and launch, though all they have is Sparkplug's name to go on.
Right.
I guess from the air they can like spot the Autobot convoy, but they don't even know that the Autobots are going anywhere, right? So I don't know.
I don't even know the person. So like how?
Right. I mean, they could trace the signal the same way that the Autobots did, but they don't bring that up. So we can make that like, what do they call that, headcanon?
Right.
They picked up the signal and they used that to find where they are. Anyway, when the Autobots pull up to the garage, some of Sparkplug's neighbors, Mitchell and Doris, notice that there are driverless cars like pulling up to Sparkplug's place. And they guess that Sparkplug's working on some kind of remote control vehicle.
He says it so nice that he's like, oh, like Sparky probably developed some kind of remote control device. Deal, I've never seen his yard quite so busy before.
Yeah, I like that they're giving everybody a name.
Right.
Doris looks like she gets in everybody's business, doesn't she?
That's a Karen. That's a Karen thing there. I ain't never seen one. That is a Karen. That is a Karen. Look at her. She pointing her finger. She's like, look at those little ruffians.
These cars don't have any drivers in them, Mitchell. She don't like that.
No, she don't like that at all.
So everybody arrives and Bumblebee introduces them. Prime transforms and Sparkplug and Buster are surprised by how much bigger he is than Bumblebee. And Prime says, I believe Bumblebee has informed you of our vital fuel needs. And Sparkplug says that he's happy to help. And already the Decepticons have tracked them and found them, so they converge to attack. So like within the time it took Doris and Mitchell to have that conversation, they've got from Castle Decepticon to wherever everybody is right now.
They're fast. They are.
They can fly. They are fast.
Right.
But that's really fast.
They are space robots. So like, they can up to do way crazier things.
Space and time.
Space and time robots. Yes, exactly. Like, so they could probably do whatever they want.
Great.
The one thing that gets me though is the whole thing about the deafening sonic boom.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, suddenly the deafening sound of a sonic boom fills the air. And I'm like, your ears should be bleeding.
Right.
Like it's something happening.
Yeah, that's what it says here. Suddenly, the deafening sound of a sonic boom fills the air, followed by the streaking sight of 3 F-15 jet fighters swooping down. So yeah, the Decepticons are here.
Right.
And this is another thing I really like about Prime. He says here, like, Decepticons attack, Autobots prepare to defend this position. And right away on the next page, the first thing that Prime does, the first order he gives in this battle is for Bumblebee to shield the humans and not let anybody get hurt. That's the first thing he thinks of. I really like that. It might not have been intentional to, like, build his character, but it does totally do that for me. Like,
right.
The first shots have been fired and he's like, quick, save everybody. Like, that's awesome.
But that's the thing of like a good leader. I think like a good leader, like protect the innocent. We don't want them to be a part of this, and we really don't.
Yeah, I really, really like that. I appreciated that. So the second the battle starts, Prime is looking out for the humans, and they go and hide in like an old junked car, which at this point, like, the Autobots like are cars, right? So this is like a skeleton. Like, this is like sending someone to hide in like an old ribcage or something. It's really weird. Sunstreaker and Sideswipe join the battle, and they banter about their weapons and their abilities so that, I guess, the reader gets an idea of what they can do. Sunstreaker has his electron pulse gun, and Sideswipe has a rocket backpack, so he's one of the few Autobots who can fly, actually. Sideswipe uses his flare gun to blind Thundercracker, who says, "Aye!" which is like a really common, like, strange sound effect that gets used throughout Marvel comics. Like, even comics that are coming out now, they still have "aye" in them. I think it's meant to just be a scream, but the way it's spelled always just looks like "aye" to me, which I've never heard anyone say in real life. Skywarp and Starscream land and transform, and they reused this panel from earlier here. They colored it differently, but this is the same artwork they used earlier. But like, that's fair.
If it's not broken, don't fix it, basically.
Right.
So
Optimus shoots Laserbeak, who also says "aye," but Prime says, Prime says, "The humans shall not be taken, so swears Optimus." And that's like a really fun, if clunky line to throw in, because it's like in so many of the older Marvel comics, they have these big grandiose statements like that end with "so says" or "so speaks," "so swears," and then they have the character's name there.
"So swear Dr. Strange."
Yeah, they did that stuff all the time, so I really liked that it made its way into this.
I'm surprised Stan Lee didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah, maybe they were just fans, I guess. Doris and Mitchell are running away there in the background too. You can see them like running away, and somebody says, Mitchell says, "Run for your lives." So says Mitchell. It's just funny to me that they got names. It makes me wonder if they'll come back again. Are we gonna get to see like Doris's arc? Like, what's next for her?
Oh man, she's gonna sue them.
Yeah, I feel like she'd start leading like an anti-transformer movement or something.
Yeah, like anti-transformer movement
with like signs and.
"We don't want you clinkers around our neighborhood."
You're one of those clankers. Oh no. So the battle continues, and Mirage thinks about how he'd rather be back on Cybertron. So I wonder if they're setting Mirage up to be a bit disloyal as the series grows on.
Yeah.
No, at this point though, it was still due to end in 2 issues. So like, I don't know.
We'll see.
Another of the Witwicky's neighbors calls the police, who arrive. They take one look at what's going on, and they say like, "No, we should just leave this to the army. We can't do this." I thought it was neat that they bothered to like put that detail in, because if that happened, yeah, you would call the police, I guess.
Yeah, I would. Call the National Guard. Call somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a 20-foot robot on, like, fighting another robot, and they are literally destroying my grass that I just paid to get cut. Oh no.
Jesse and O are there. Also, they're hiding behind a corner and just watching everything go down. And then Ravage like pounces on Mirage, who's distracted, thinking about Cybertron. Then Brawn comes in with the assist. And since the Decepticons look like they're losing, Sparkplug and Buster come out of hiding. And that's right when Megatron shows up. And poor Bumblebee.
He got the thud.
Yep. Megatron shows up and he knocks Bumblebee out with one like chest blow. So poor Bumblebee, like 2 issues in a row, he just takes one ding and then he's out.
Sorry, ouchie.
Somehow Megatron knows who Sparkplug is and that he's the one that's going to start converting the energy, which, by the way, thus far is all talk and theory. He hasn't made any progress.
Nothing.
Or started on this at all yet.
None.
Nothing.
None.
So Megatron grabs him anyway, and Buster screams out for help with "help" in big red letters. And I talked earlier about the G1 voice cast before. Spike,
right?
Not Buster, but Spike Buster, has some really good lungs on him in that show. He screams all the time. And he sounds so desperate and ragged every time.
Prime, help!
I can't do it. It's like, help! He has a really like piercing scream. He's really good.
Right.
But yeah, like I was saying before, I can just hear that in my mind, like perfectly how it would sound in the show.
Optimus Prime does the Japanese thing.
Yeah, Optimus Prime here is So he turns around looking really sultry, like, oh, what's going on over there? So Prime hears, not Spike, Buster shouting, and he runs over to confront Megatron, who blasts at him with his cannon. But either the blast or the distraction from Optimus allows Sparkplug to escape Megatron's grip. Megatron defends himself from Prime's answering shot by defending himself with a scrap car. And he has some cool lines here, though. After 4 million years, you haven't changed, you still fight with your mouth. And then he throws the car at Optimus, and he says, perhaps this will halt your endless prattling. It's perfect. It sounds just like something that G1 Megatron would say.
Right.
I actually checked the writer of this issue, like I googled him up, Jim Salicrup, to see if he wrote for G1 because it sounds so much like something Megatron would say to me. But he didn't, so I don't know, it's just a coincidence, but it does really sound like Megatron to me. So Prime picks up like an entire engine block and retaliates by just like throwing it straight at Megatron's head, and even bounces up. That's like in gym class where you got hit with the dodgeball. Like,
Clong. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
that ringer.
Yeah, look, Megatron's falling back, like it knocked him over.
Right.
And you can see in the background, Sparkplug and Buster are scrabbling around there. And ominously, right in the background, there's Starscream. Megatron tells Prime that he wants to take control of the Earth. Again, taking over an entire planet. Always taking over a planet with this guy. Before he wanted to take over Cybertron and use that as a dreadnought, which is like, that's awesome. That's an insane idea, but that's so cool.
See, but here's the thing, okay? Remember in issue 1 when they went to go destroy the asteroid field or whatever? I was like, okay, first of all, you people are getting tired from shooting from the ship.
From inside the ship. It's exhausting.
There was a couple on top of it, but I'm like, that really made you tired by clicking a trigger to shoot something? Like, really?
Yes.
And so that happens, right? And then on top of that, like,
why didn't they just move Cybertron?
Cybertron was already moving at that point. Cybertron...
Right, but see, what I was thinking is, it's like,
can it be controlled?
Oh.
Like, that's what it's like.
You can move it. Like, if it's going towards something, why can't we just go?
I wonder if they had the time to build a booster big enough to like move it out of the way. Because Megatron did say he wants to use the planet to settle. So either it can be moved, or he was planning to build something that would have moved it. I guess just for the sake of making it make sense, there wasn't enough time. And that's why. So yeah, he wants to use the Earth to launch an invasion of Cybertron, which they don't know if still exists or not. Like, it was hurtling through space. It might have smashed into something by now, but we'll find out, I guess. Starscream grabs hold of Sparkplug and transforms into jet mode and takes him off with him. And then noticing that, Megatron says that he has what he came for, and he orders a complete Decepticon retreat, which is Megatron style. Buster tells Optimus that they have his dad and that they need to chase after them, and Prime agrees but says it's going to be impossible because they're all so low on energy. And that's where the issue ends. What's going to happen to Sparkplug? Especially when the Decepticons find out he has no knowledge of Transformer biology, no research, no plans. And how are the Autobots going to refuel? I actually really don't know what's going to happen from here because they're just stuck.
Basically.
Oh, wait, they left Ratchet behind, didn't they? Ratchet's going to come save the day, probably.
I think my favorite line is Megatron surrender the human or suffer the consequences. In a word, Optimus, no.
No. That's payback. He got shot straight in the face last time. Now it's his turn.
Yeah, exactly. He did. He threw that thing pretty hard.
Right over his head.
I do love that line, though. He was like, 1 million years, you still fight with your mouth. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I was like, we're slinging around words here, huh? Why do I persist in trying to reason with you when the only language you understand is violence?
Is violence engine block to the face? Issue number 3 of the Transformers. Okay, so before we even open the issue, the cover is a bit strange.
Yeah.
Because first things first, we have at the top written here, guest starring Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like, I had no idea that was coming. So in issue 2, there were a bunch of like little Marvel references like sprinkled around, and I had fun noticing those and picking up on those. Mm-hmm. And it hinted that like Transformers were sharing the Marvel universe, but this time it's going full on like, yes, Transformers and Marvel heroes are in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, that was a surprise to me because I didn't have this one when I was a kid, and I remember like going to a comics convention, and like looking at back issues and seeing this and going like, I had no idea that this happened. Just seeing a cover with Spider-Man on it. Yeah, that's sort of
Yeah, crazy.
yeah. Yeah, the cover. I mean, it's a great cover. It's got like Spider-Man like whipping around, sort of webbing Megatron up. My co-host on the podcast always talks about the idea that Marvel likes to have Spider-Man show up in like one of the sometime in the first 5 issues or so of a new comic to be like, this guy gets my seal of approval.
Okay.
Right, like so that I as the reader can go like, well, if Spider-Man thinks that these guys are tough and cool, then I am convinced. I'm going to keep buying this. But yeah, the Marvel stuff drops out fairly quickly. I think that would end up being a legal bone of contention. Once you get to the issues with Circuit Breaker, that becomes a whole like, who owns this character or not.
Oh no. Okay. Because yeah, it's like this is Marvel. It's a Marvel comic,
right?
But like you said, it seems like this happens, and there were a couple of references previously, and then
yeah, I think there was one thing that I read doing a little research on this one was that apparently Hasbro had to be talked into this because they saw Spider-Man and like, I mean, obviously like to us it's like, yeah, Spider-Man's a Marvel character. It's the most normal thing in the world for a Marvel character to show up in a Marvel book. But from Hasbro's perspective, Mattel had the license to make the Secret Wars toys, which included Spider-Man. And so like from their perspective, it was like, we don't want to advertise a competitor's character, in our comic book. And they had to like sort of talk him down. And I think the using the black costume was partially like a compromise or something.
Did you go to the wiki?
Yeah.
That's what I did too. So yeah, Mattel made a Spider-Man action figure for the Secret Wars figures. Then Hasbro saw his appearance in Transformers as like free advertising for a rival company's toy. So they weren't keen on putting him in. And then Mattel also weren't happy about Spider-Man being able to interact with the rival company's upcoming line of toys either. So Marvel promised they'll only show him wearing the black symbiote suit, which Spider-Man had recently stopped wearing in the comics, which is why later on we'll see a note about when this comic takes place in relation to Spider-Man.
Right.
And then Mattel's action figure was wearing his regular red and blue suit, so Hasbro are happy. And Spider-Man isn't going to wear the same suit as the figure, so Mattel are happy. And the suit doesn't match their figure, so it's not being used to boost Transformers' popularity either. But what Marvel didn't mention to either company was that Spider-Man would start wearing the black suit again, not much later. And then Mattel had to like come back and make a new figure with a black suit Spider-Man after this went on sale. So Marvel were really sneaky with that.
Yeah.
But I bet Mattel probably didn't mind much. They could make another figure and sell that too, so I bet it made them a bit of money.
An early example of like the repaint, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's Spider-Man. It's going to work, right?
Right.
Spider-Man's guest appearance aside, there's more going on with this cover too. This is the 3rd issue, and at this point in the series, it's still planned to be only 4 issues long. But from this issue, Frank Springer, who's on pencils, so he's drawing everything, he has the final character models to use for reference. But the color schemes still haven't been worked out yet, so that's why Megatron has like weird orange section on his torso at the front, and his helmet's kind of weird shape too, and so are his eyes. The issue's kind of all over the place, and you'll see when we start to get further in. Like Springer had all the official designs in hand, so I'll cut him some slack and say that I couldn't really find any information about exactly when he got them. So some panels show characters looking like pretty much as we know them, but they aren't even consistent within like the issue itself. So it's possible that he had already drawn a bunch of pages before he finally got the designs.
Yeah.
They'd been all finished and inked and colored, so it was too late to change them. So from the next issue, from issue 4, and at this point in time, as far as we know, the last issue, the characters should be pretty much set, but we'll find out, I guess, when we get to that. And a quick recap of the story. We're only on issue 3, so there's not much to remember, but if you want a longer version, go back and find the other 2 episodes. But the Transformers have crash landed on Earth, they've woken up, the Decepticons have stolen part of a nuclear power plant, meaning that they potentially have a large amount of power at their disposal. What they don't have is a way to make that Earth energy useful for charging Transformers, so they've kidnapped a human mechanic, Sparkplug, who they overheard in conversation with Bumblebee, saying that he'll find a way to convert fuel to be usable for charging Autobots. And then down here at the bottom, we've got the credits. So Jim Salicrup is credited as the writer. There's no separation of plot and writer this time. Frank Springer is on the pencils again. And it says Dermolder and Esposito on inks this time. Though I think that's supposed to be Demolder.
Yeah.
Chiang is on letters again, though for some reason it also credits others. And that's really funny. I don't know who they are and why they don't get named, but apparently they had some help. And then Nel Yomtov is on coloring again. And as usual, Bob Budiansky is the editor, and Jim Shooter is the editor-in-chief at Marvel. I wanted to read out just the first text box here, because this is pre the first episode ever airing. So it says, somewhere over Oregon, 3 jet fighters soar. Not an odd sight, but there's more than meets the eye. Anything stick out?
They said the thing.
They said the thing! I wonder if the theme song was being worked on around this time, so that's why Jim Salicrup snuck it in here. Well, like, who knows? Maybe this is the first time it came up and it inspired the theme song writer. Who knows? Maybe it's all coincidence. But I just thought it was interesting that it was right there. So we got Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Starscream flying over the mountains, taking Sparkplug to Castle Decepticon, which is so ludicrous. I love how silly that is.
Oh yeah, it's a great sort of like video game background of like all these weird shapes and like towers and there's no function to it. It's just purely to look cool.
Exactly, it looks amazing. But I don't, as far as I know, that's not in the show, so there is never Castle Decepticon playset or anything. Yeah, so I kind of hope they keep the castle in. I don't know if that like stays for the rest of the series or what.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was surprised to see it again in here. So I don't know. I think they ended up sort of doing like mobile bases, you know, in different later on in different things. But
later on in this issue, like the location of it is not a secret anymore. So maybe they need to abandon it and go somewhere else. The background colors, like for the sky here in the first 2 panels, are still those lovely soft pastel colors. I really like how bright and breezy everything is so far in the series. And we get the title of the issue here, which is Prisoner of War, which is actually really important part of the story. And it gets glossed over kind of fast when it comes up, but I'll take a second to talk about it when it does. So we've got poor Sparkplug here, stuck in Starscream's cockpit. Behave. And he's telling Starscream to let him out. Starscream says, it's a stupid request because he'll die if he lets him out like mid-flight. So he's being very literal about it.
Yeah, that happens a lot in these Marvel issues. Is the sort of like, I'm a person. Let me tell you what my needs are. And he's like, well, don't you just convert energy into your photoreceptors or whatever, right?
They don't understand humans yet. Starscream lands at the castle, and as he removes Sparkplug from his cockpit, he says that the machines have been slaves on Earth for long enough, and it's time that the roles get reversed. So, like in the last issue, his face is all blue. In this picture, I don't know. In other places in the issue, it will be regular metal or white color. The art, and particularly the colors, are just all over the place in this issue. Lots of things are even more inconsistent than they were in the first 2 issues. But that's okay. Thundercracker and Skywarp also come into land, and it says here, a tape player, 3 cassette tapes, and a Walther 38. Is that Walther or Walter? I don't know about guns.
No, me neither.
Well, a gun. fly forth from the towering twin titans. And astonishingly, they enlarge hundreds of times over and change into Soundwave, Megatron, Frenzy, and Ravage.
Oh, it's always been the one thing that I've never quite grasped. But I know they get into like there's a theoretical like thing behind it, but like the idea that cassette tapes, right? Like cassette tapes are small by my standards. Like I should be able to squish Rumble or Frenzy.
Right, that's like palm sized.
Right.
When we recorded episode 2, we talked about that a lot too. Like, how is it getting this small, but then in another page it's like twice the size of a human being? Doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, so firstly, they're acknowledging the insane size discrepancies now. They've mentioned 3 tapes.
Right.
And they mention Ravage and Frenzy, but they don't mention who the 3rd tape is for some reason. It's either Rumble, Laserbeak, or Buzzsaw, I think. Right? But we'll never know. I guess they just stayed in cassette form on the floor.
Thundercracker opens up his like chest cockpit thing, and they sort of fly out. So he's got
It's weird they could do that.
It's bad for the electronics, I'm sure. Is to just have a cassette player rattling around a fighter jet.
Yeah, exactly. That's not good. And a gun that can jump sounds incredibly dangerous. That's gonna misfire.
Yeah.
Here in the next page, it says Buzzsaw and Laserbeak arrive. So I guess that means that Rumble is the one that's taking a nap right now or something. Most likely, I think they just forgot to write his name in the list earlier.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep. It's a lot to keep track of. It's amazing how many characters they actually do name. But that was a very much at the forefront of their thoughts was like make sure that you can identify everyone and ask for it by name at the store.
Exactly. Yeah. I watched the show and I still can't remember everybody's name. So reading this and then like picking it all apart, it's really helping me to learn who everybody is. But then the colors sometimes get switched, so then I can't recognize who somebody is. Starscream tells everyone that the human he has captured has the key to their survival on Earth. Megatron, who... okay, like I said before, let's give Frank Springer the benefit of the doubt, but Megatron's eyes are weird here.
Yeah.
His face looks like an old lady.
Yeah, his eyes are mean little triangles. He's got these sort of like jowls. He's not very intimidating. No.
No, it looks like he baked a pie. Frank Springer penciled all 3 issues so far, and Megatron and Prime's eyes have changed and changed back again like a bunch of times during that time.
Mhm.
And like, it's not a big deal at all. It's not taken away from my enjoyment of this, but it's kind of funny to see just how much they were flying by the seat of their pants on this all the time.
Yeah, very much so.
Anyway, Grandma Megatron congratulates Starscream, who is still all blue, on a job well done. That's what he says outwardly. In his thought bubbles, he notes that Starscream often tries to make himself out to be the most worthy candidate for the Decepticon leader, and that he overestimates his own abilities and the gullibility of the other Decepticons.
Yeah, so I know that's from the cartoon show as well, but that's very much like a Marvel kind of thing to want to inject into this, because like you could just write this where all the good guys get along and all the bad guys get along, but that's very much like a Marvel storytelling thing of like, well, how much interpersonal conflict can we inject into these characters? And you see it like all over the place. There's like later on, I think, or maybe in an earlier issue, it was Mirage is like, well, I don't even know what we're doing on Earth,
you're right.
or whatever. So there is some like dissension in the ranks.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because as you were saying before, you really like comics from the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
And when I first started reading comics, I read a bunch of like tail end of the 80s and some 90s comics.
Mhm.
And yeah, I had the problem that you were talking about earlier, where I was like, there's no depth to any of this. It's all so surface level, and I can't connect to any of these characters. And then when I came back to read the Transformers comics, there's actually a lot of really good stuff in here that's very different to the other Marvel stuff that I read.
Mhm.
So like you said, they're putting all these little details in to make things more interesting. Like earlier on, there's a really good relationship building part they did with Buster and Sparkplug.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more in here than I expected, especially considering I thought this would just be the show in like drawn form, and it's totally not. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Sparkplug asks what the Decepticons want from him, and Megatron suggests that they begin at once, all the while thinking about how Starscream stands no chance so long as he has his fusion cannon, and that he can see a situation in which Starscream is no longer needed, which we assume means that he would then like dispose of him.
Right.
Just from that little bit of internal monologue, though, it does sound like the Decepticon leadership is a bit tenuous. It makes it sound like Megatron is literally ruling by fear, and without his cannon, his leadership is just completely up for grabs. I might be reading too much into that.
Yeah, although
but-
no, I mean it says that he's been ruling for what is it, countless millennia.
yeah.
So I guess the fusion cannon is really all you need, but
Yeah, right.
and if it has been that long, Starscream's really been taking a sweet time in trying to overthrow Megatron. It's like maybe the next 1,000 years I'll get in there.
Yeah, right. In the first few issues, he hasn't really made any moves, but maybe that will come up later. Yeah, so given that they're still expecting it to end next issue, it feels like sewing in all these little seeds of plot for later is a bit of a strange thing to do. But I wonder how much about the TV show plot, was known to them at this time, because maybe they're trying to lay the groundwork for that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure how at what point they realized that this was going to be profitable enough to keep going as an ongoing.
Yeah, I couldn't find that out either. I'm so curious to know like exactly when in this writing process they found that out.
Yeah.
Megatron puts Sparkplug on some kind of platform and explains that he and the other Decepticons are not from Earth, and that his spies have found out that Sparkplug has the skills to turn Earth fuels into fuels for Decepticons, which is all based on Sparkplug making that offer once, with no knowledge of Transformer anatomy. Nobody has even said the word Energon in this comic so far. So an awful lot is hinging on this one thing that Sparkplug said.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea that he is a auto mechanic from Oregon, and he has the molecular chemistry, know how to convert fuel to whatever a giant shape, size changing gun runs on.
So bizarre. And not only that, Bumblebee mentioned that, was it Ratchet? Or no, I think he mentioned that Huffer could do this. But for some reason, Sparkplug was like, no, I'll do it. And then Bumblebee was like, yeah, okay. It makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, let's just go with it, because that's the plot.
Yep.
Megatron demands that Sparkplug provides him with that energy, and Sparkplug thinks about the situation. The Decepticons have a source of huge power, but no idea how to use it, and they're too technologically advanced to understand Earth's comparatively primitive technology. And this is where, if this was a modern comic, I think we'd get a bit more nuance and time spent delving into this and fleshing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some flashbacks to really lay the groundwork for the character. But Sparkplug thinks to himself that the Decepticons are just as unfriendly as the jailers from his time as a prisoner of war in Korea. And putting himself in that frame of mind causes him to blurt out his military information. And at first I kind of laughed about how bizarrely that comes off. Megatron says, give us the energy. And Sparkplug starts rattling off his name and his rank. And it seemed completely unrelated to the present situation until I thought about it some more. Like, Sparkplug has been captured against his will in a war and held hostage in a place he doesn't know. and it's happening to him for the second time in his life. So he's having like a PTSD flashback.
Oh yeah, that's what was so like interesting about these Marvel comics, right? Is that like they'll add something like that, which has nothing to do. I mean, you could write this story very easily without that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But just adding that in adds a whole like dimension. And I mean, when I revisit these things when I get older, I go like, oh, I didn't even think about this.
Exactly.
When I read this, as a kid, and I'm like, looking at it again, I'm like, oh wow, that's it's dealing with things in a fairly, like you said, a modern comic would delve into this more, but having it there at all is quite frankly interesting. Right?
Yeah, and like I said, that's much more depth than I expected from a comic from the 80s, given my experience with them. So yeah, I was so impressed that they put this in. Yeah, so the entire issue is named Prisoner of War. It's about him and his experience, which like I was so surprised by that.
Yeah.
But the scene's kind of cut short. Megatron yells, "Enough!" And he says that Sparkplug will cooperate or he'll be killed. Which, poor guy, it sounds exactly like the situation he must have been in Korea.
Right.
So when I first read it and I breezed past that, but thinking about it later, I realized like there's a lot of depth and really heavy stuff going on there, and the issue doesn't really get into it. And fair enough, this is like ostensibly for children, and there's
Right.
a lot of other stuff going on. But damn, poor Sparky.
Yeah.
Now Megatron is dangling him upside down in front of his giant yelling metal face, which has also got to be terrifying.
Yeah, I'll admit that even though Megatron's design is not as frightening as it is in the TV show, if I was like 3 feet away from it and upside down, yeah, I would be scared of I'd be scared of this giant gun robot.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. This massive face, just like. Back at the Wiki workshop, the Autobots are exhausted and in desperate need of fuel. Bumblebee, whose head is completely yellow here.
Mhm.
I guess it's not a bad assumption that the toys would have been just one color for their heads. That would be easier and simpler to manufacture. So, again, let's just see how everybody looks next issue.
Yeah.
Bumblebee apologizes to Buster for not protecting his dad from the Decepticons, and Prime steps in to say that as the leader, any blame should be placed on him. Which that's such a Prime thing to do.
Yeah. Again, that's why he was such an inspiration to me as a child. Is that he takes responsibility for everything, right?
He's a really good guy, and like I was saying in the new comic, that comes through really, really well. But you can really see the seeds of where that came from, because a lot of that is very similar to what happens in these comics too.
Yeah.
So Prime steps in to say that as a leader, any blame should be placed on him, and Buster interjects that he really doesn't care about who is and who is not to blame right now. He just wants to get his dad back. And it looks like the Autobots can't do much to help right now. Jesse and O come out from their hiding place, and O asks where these rejects from a George Lucas film came from. Which is funny because this is decades before Disney bought both Lucasfilm and Marvel.
Yes.
Prime says that they need to return to the Ark to refuel, and Buster says he'll go with them. He can't do anything to rescue his dad without their help. And Prime promises that once they're refueled, he'll make sure that Sparkplug is returned home safely.
Mhm.
The Autobots transform while a whole crowd of people from the neighborhood watches. Transformation pages with multiple transformations are happening at once, and they look like such a pain to draw.
Oh, I know. Just looking at these and like they kind of don't make sense, but there's some attempt made to, and like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that he had Frank Springer had model sheets for like the car and the robots. I don't know that he had like, if he had like a Bumblebee action figure to like actually like, what does it look like? Where does the head go? How does that how does that work? You just sort of guessing as to where these things go.
I think in general, Transformers must be really hard to draw anyway. They're so angular and like so awkward. These pages are really impressive, like genuinely impressive to me.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to draw. I used to try to draw Transformers and stuff, and I just could not, because it's like everything has to be drawn in like perspective, right? Because it's all like the right angles and stuff. So
Exactly. Yep.
it astonishes me that anybody can draw Transformers at all. It's like a magic trick every time I see it.
And this is in the 80s too. There's no Photoshop. There's no layers to make anything simpler.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. Oh, and this is another instance of something I found so funny from the last issue as well. This crowd has just witnessed jets and cars turn into robots, fight, and then transform again. And the reaction is, wow. Oregon is chill as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's I guess that's the I never met anybody from Oregon that I know, but that seems to be maybe their defining trait, is that they roll with it a lot.
For real, they really do.
All the stuff shows up and they're just like, well, this is bad, but I guess also I suppose theoretically at this point they live in the Marvel universe, so like, yeah, giant robots, I'm cool with that. I know that.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. Yeah. Prime lets Hound and Sideswipe ride in his trailer, which is nice. Buster climbs into Optimus's cab, and Jesse is impressed by how sensitive and brave he is. O says that he'd join them, but his family wouldn't approve. And Buster says it's fine. Prime says, let's roll. So, almost there on Transform and Roll Out.
Yep.
And Jesse, for some reason, asks O if he thinks that they'll ever see him again. I don't know. I feel like she's jumping the shark there a little bit to start like immediately wondering if he's about to die.
Right.
Maybe she's a pessimist. I don't know. But the convoy gets spotted speeding by a traffic cop. He drives alongside Gears and tells him to pull over, but notices that nobody is driving. Gears tells him that they're on the way to save the Earth and that he can't stop them. And the guy seems to be like, well, one, he falls off the road into like a ravine, but he's all right.
Yeah.
And two, he like totally brushes off the whole thing. He says that Sarge always says, if you put in enough miles, you'll believe a car can talk. And that's it. The speeding is fine because he writes it off as himself having some kind of mental health episode. I don't know. He's totally fine after that.
Yep. That's one hopes that he like submitted himself for some sort of evaluation after that. Be like,
oh, dang, that would be a good supplement.
yeah. This guy just like 12 issues later, just getting out of like the some sort of therapy. Like, there's cars can't talk, right? There's no, everything's fine. Cars can't talk, and you go outside and there's 8 transforming robots coming at you.
Just like comes out the gate and turns around and goes back in again.
Yep.
Whatever it is that he's thinking, he doesn't continue pursuing them. And the Autobots make it back to the Ark, where Ratchet says repairs are going well, but he's found something of note that Optimus should see. And Optimus says, not now, they need to recharge. Buster is amazed at the size of the Ark, and then elsewhere, poor Sparkplug is being threatened by Megatron and Laserbeak, who's cutting like an outline around him close to his body like a Bond villain or something.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought was like it just it's Goldfinger, right?
Yeah. Megatron again demands that Sparkplug find a way to synthesize energy for Decepticons from, well, Megatron says here from gasoline, but they've stolen a power plant. So in the end, I guess that all that was useful for was building their castle. And that's it.
Right.
Sparkplug says that he'll do it, but first he needs a sample of their fuel as an example. So Rumble, who I guess has woken up now, sprays some liquid into an oil drum.
Yeah.
He provides a sample. I don't like that.
No, it's a little distressing to see that.
Yeah. But they haven't named it as Energon yet still. I don't know when that comes up, but it's just some pink gunk.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a different liquid or something. And again, I'm not sure why a mechanic and not mechanics know a lot that I don't know. But I don't know if like this sort of like molecular chemical change or whatever is part of that training.
Yeah, I had no idea what he thinks he's going to do. Sparkplug also requests some science equipment to be able to work on converting the energy. So Soundwave goes and busts into and steals most of the University of Oregon's science department. Just the entire thing. Just picks it up and goes off with it. And Rumble and Starscream hold up and steal an entire tanker of gasoline. Rumble just ties it to Starscream with a rope. Like, no.
Yeah, it's a lasso, right?
What is that made of?
I don't know, but apparently he's ahead of the cultural integration than the rest of the Transformers because he's already learned how to tie a lasso like a cowboy, right?
Yeah, and he's swinging it around there perfectly. He's got it down. But apparently that rope is strong enough. But it's even if it's strong enough, it doesn't look that aerodynamic.
No,
like it's gonna catch some kind of drag.
Yeah,
for sure. Anyway, like as usual, just roll with it. I feel like I need a catchphrase for when something comes up that just is absolutely impossible, but it's not a plot breaker.
Oh no! I mean that's. I mean, that's going to happen a lot. I will not to spoil anything going on, but like throughout the Marvel Transformers series, so much of it is going. Well, this needs to happen, and so I will allow it. I will allow it to happen, and I throw out my checklist of things that are physically or psychologically illogical.
All right, so just give up keeping track of that. Yeah, I can't think of a good catchphrase for that, but I'll have to figure something out. Anyway, at the White House, somebody reports to the president that nobody was harmed in the nuclear plant incident, and that they can't prove that the Russians are controlling the robots, which I guess is their assumption.
Right.
In Moscow, someone says that America must be testing its Star Wars arsenal. So it's another Star Wars mention in this issue. I guess Jim Salicrup must have been a fan or something.
Well, Star Wars was also like the American missile defense system in the 80s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it had an official name. I think it was Strategic Defense Initiative or something. But like everybody called it Star Wars because it was like sci-fi warfare, right?
Oh, they actually called it that. I had no idea. That's so interesting.
Yeah, the idea is like if there's like intercontinental ballistic missiles or whatever, we need like satellites to shoot stuff down. And I don't know if it was the White House themselves or if it was the press or whatever, but someone was like, "Oh, hey, it's like Star Wars," and that sort of caught on.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So I thought they were just referencing Star Wars, but it actually was called that. Next, we get some more Marvel making its way into the series.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Fury and Dum Dum Dugan are there. And Dum Dum says that they should check what's going on in Oregon. And Fury says if it's that giant fire-breathing lizard again, he quits. And I think that's referencing the Godzilla comics that Marvel were producing around the same time.
Yep.
So that's kind of neat. I also like that Dum Dum Duggan calls him Nicholas and not Nick, like everyone else.
Right.
There's a moment in the Marvels, like the movie The Marvels, that Kamala Khan's mum calls Nick Fury Nicholas too, and it really tickled me. Next up, there's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle, Joe Robertson. I'm not familiar with him at all, actually. This is the first time I've ever seen him.
Oh, yeah, he's sort of the he's sort of the J. Jonah Jameson's like more sensible equivalent.
Ah, okay. Is he around for long? Because I never heard of him.
Oh yeah, he's in the movies and stuff too.
Oh,
or at least the Raimi movies. But he was very much. I mean, he was sort of an early example of a black character in a comic book, and that was a thing that they wanted to do in the '60s was to show like a black man in a authority position as like and that like J. Jonah Jameson, for all his faults, like is not racist apparently because he trusts this guy to run his newspaper.
that's awesome. But like back before I got super into reading comics, I always felt like this is going to be controversial to say. Stan Lee gets a lot of credit for all these amazing things that have come like long after he was writing the comics. And if you go back and read the '60s comics, out of the time period and out of context, they are not great in my opinion. I don't think they're very good. But Stan's soapbox is what made me love Stan Lee because he was way ahead of his time on that stuff. He was really trying to do some nice things. Like I really, really appreciate that about him. So yeah, having this black character be an important person at the newspaper, that's a really nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Joe Robertson is hoping that Peter Parker will be okay with his assignment to get photos of whatever walked off the nuclear plant. And he says he better check that Peter made his plane. But like this is the 80s, so I don't know what he's going to do to check that. It's not like you can text him. I don't think airlines can just like give out that kind of information.
Right. Call his hotel room or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. To make sure he made it like after the flight.
Right.
Over at the Decepticon Fortress, news crews and reporters are gathering to take pictures and make reports. Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is there too, and he says that he needs to escape the crowd if he's going to get any good photos. So he goes to a more secluded area, and the black symbiote suit covers his body, which is what it does. He doesn't have to manually change his clothes. And then he swings into a tree to get closer to the fortress. And at the bottom, there's a continuity note, the one that I mentioned before, and it says that it takes place before Peter gets rid of the symbiote suit for a while, and then before he starts using it again for the second time.
Right.
At the Decepticon Fortress, Soundwave picks up a signal being broadcast by the military outside. So last issue, the police were called, and they took one look at the giant robots, and they like quickly decided to just let the army take care of things. And it looks like they actually followed up on that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So a message comes from the general. It says MS Breg. So I think that's another instance of the IDW coloring messing up the lettering.
Yeah, I think that just got blurred, but it's it's supposed to be Mick Breg or whatever the
McBreg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm really curious about the PDF from Skybound, if that's going to be like if they fix these things, because it's crazy that there's a whole bunch of errors that just got through. Yeah, so I think that name is McBreg.
Mm-hmm.
So McBreg says the army hasn't come to start any trouble and it just wants to talk. But Megatron says that he'll let Starscream handle this, and Sparkplug, still working on synthesizing the gasoline into fuel, thinks that it's about time they showed up. And he keeps working silently. And Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp launch and drop cluster bombs on the military outside. And one of them orders anti-aircraft missiles to be fired and jets to be launched. But Thundercracker uses his sonic boom to stop them communicating. Buzzsaw joins and slices one of the wings from the military jet planes, and another targets Skywarp with a missile, but he teleports away. And this part is so cool.
Yeah.
Skywarp teleports himself above a jet, transforms into like the humanoid form in midair, and then smashes down and lands with one foot on either wing, and then just rips the jet's wings in half.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought been put into like how would these things fight.
Yeah, so awesome. It's pretty safe to assume that with Skywarp's crotch directly above the cockpit, it blocks off any chance for the emergency eject. So that pilot is dying in that crash.
Yes, very, very much so.
Spider-Man says a bunch of stuff that I don't understand here. So first, he spots Gears and says, "What's this? Unless Detroit's training trucks to be quick change artists, I bet he's one of those robots returning to the nest." So we're in Oregon, so I have no idea what Detroit has to do with anything.
Detroit is historically a like auto manufacturing center.
Oh.
So it's like a by Detroit they mean like the American auto manufacturer apparatus.
Oh, okay. And then what's a quick change artist?
I don't know that's a thing that I've read in comics all my life. I just accept it on its own terms, but I don't know what the etymology of that
Oh, okay.
would be, I don't know if that's like some kind of a con man or something, like a
Oh, no. Okay, this makes more sense to me now.
yeah, I don't know what the actual origin of that is, but that's just one of those things that I've always read and going like, okay, I will, I accept this idea on its own terms or whatever.
Okay, so let's have a look. It says, I still don't understand, but
Yeah, it's a very very Spider-Man kind of idiomatic thing going on.
either way, it looks like Peter is under the impression that Gears is a Decepticon. And in his thought bubble, Gears complains about having been given this recon mission by Prime. Next, Spider-Man says, "Hey, hold on, big boy," or as that funny lady on TV says, "Can we talk?" I didn't get that line either, but the wiki told me he's referencing a TV show that at the time was hosted by Joan Rivers.
Yep.
Were you old enough to watch that back in the day?
Oh yeah, I don't think I ever watched the show, but like yeah, Joan Rivers was very much a part of my a part of my upbringing.
I've heard of her, but like I'm from England. She's not. At least I don't think she's super famous there. She's the lady. She had lots of surgery, right? Her face looks kind of. Is she still alive? Oops.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, very very much a sort of like person who was famous for being famous, you know, in America.
Okay. The crowd below looks up and sees Gears, who's doing some kind of flying leap toward them for some reason, and he's being followed by Spider-Man. And I'm not sure where he's going or what he's doing, but he's on a recon mission, so maybe nor is he, I guess. They see him together with Spider-Man, and assuming that Gears is a Decepticon, they deduce that Spider-Man must also be a bad guy if he's hanging around with the Decepticons.
Well, and that sort of works with like the whole like Spider-Man thing of being like hated and feared, right? Is that like they're both misjudging each other in terms of
Yeah, that's true.
like who's the bad guy here?
Yeah, everybody's confused about who anybody is. Gears tells Spider-Man to go away and that he's messing up the mission, to which Spider-Man says, "What, taking over the world?" And Gears says, "No, I'm on your side." Spider-Man says, "Then explain why your buddy is throwing that at us," which doesn't really make any sense to me, since Gears has just pointed out that he's not a Decepticon.
No, yeah, it's a little hard to parse, but I think it's like, why if you're good guys, why is your because he doesn't have the factional like Autobot versus Decepticon thing. It's like you're all robots. One of them's throwing a tank.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he just lumped all the robots together. That makes much more sense. Spider-Man yells that the people below are too busy looking at him and Gears and don't see Thundercracker throwing an entire tank towards them.
Yeah.
So some of the army members there are trying to shoot him, and one is throwing like a rock, or it might be a grenade or something. I don't know. But Gears jumps to grab the tank, and the narration notes that even though he's a bit of a grouch sometimes, he's still an honorable Autobot who'll do the right thing when it comes down to it. So he catches the tank and then sends out compressed air from his feet, so he's able to land safely and like gently put it down. He asks Spider-Man if he believes that they're on the same side now, and he explains about the war, that the Decepticons are trying to strip Earth of its resources, and that the Decepts have kidnapped a human to help them do it. He uses Decepts like a few times this issue, which is so weird.
Yeah, I think when Bob Budiansky takes over as writing, I think he'll drop that.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, I really don't like it. But it felt weird to me that this is like issue 3 of a 4-part series, and he just starts to do that now.
Right.
But I think only Gears ever says it, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe it was just supposed to be a quirk of how he talks.
Yeah, that's Gears' thing that he's trying to make fetch happen.
Exactly right. He's trying to make it catch on. It sounds all wrong. Anyway, Spider-Man says that they should get moving to rescue the captive right away. But Gears says that he needs to inform Optimus of the situation first. The Autobots don't know the location of the Decepticon fortress yet. After the military realize that they can't do anything to stop the Decepticons, the order is given to fall back. There's a little bit of a time cut to Buster asking Ratchet why the other Autobots didn't take him with them to go rescue Sparkplug. Ratchet says that it's to keep him out of danger. And then another time cut while the Autobots introduce themselves to Spider-Man and explain the current situation. So Spider-Man remarks that he's seen a lot of things, but he's never seen anything like this before. And Prime very sweetly says that he's sure Spider-Man has a bunch of interesting stories, but for right now, he's in the military. The Autobots handle things here.
Yeah.
Which they kind of decided to do already, I think. They're going to withdraw. But I guess the Autobots and Spidey don't know that.
Yeah, I guess.
So Peter comes up with a plan to get them all through the military barricade. This is interesting. He uses webbing to steal the helmet of one of the military men and puts it on his head. And then he sits in Hound's driver's seat. And then they just drive past. The entire thing's like crazy.
Yeah.
The helmet alone is enough to fool anyone.
It's a very strong indictment of the U.S. military that they see somebody in a helmet and like even though he's wearing a skin tight black thing with a giant white spider on it.
Yeah, right.
I assume he's got a helmet, so like he's wave him through.
Oh, it's satire. Then there are 6 people standing there in that panel too. Nobody noticed he's wearing that bodysuit. His entire face is covered. Like, fair enough, Hound does look like a military vehicle. But they also let a bright red truck and a couple of, like, obviously non-military bright red civilian cars drive past.
Yeah. The next page is like, well, hey Sarge, why are all those other cars following the Jeep? It was like, who cares? We're bugging out. So
He's like, that's fine.
Yep.
Wow, that's kind of worse. They noticed, but they didn't care.
They're like, oh, it's Spider-Man in a helmet, but I don't care. I'm off the clock.
The Autobots are glad that the plan is working, and Gears asks that the others draw the... He says Decept again here. I still don't like it. The Decepticons fire while he and Spider-Man go inside. And for some reason, the military, who are about to leave, start to attack the Autobots when they transform. Don't know why. And Gears says that they can't tell the Autobots apart from the Decepts. Like, stop trying to make it a thing, Gears. It's not catching on. Stop it. He says that they can't attack back either. To make matters worse, the Decepticons arrive and join in firing on the Autobots too, laughing that the humans are attacking the Autobots who want to help them. Sunstreaker lands a missile hit on Skywarp, and Rumble starts to shake the ground, which causes Gears and... I think that's meant to be Huffer, I'm not sure. Anyway, they fall over. On the next page, though, it's actually Brawn. Like, so no shade to the colors, because Brawn and Huffer... I get them confused too because they're the same shape, they're just different colors. But the colors have changed to Brawn's colors now, unless that's actually Brawn, I don't know, somewhere else. He says, guess again, you dirty little Decept. Brawn's coming through now. Oh, it's catching on though, he said Decept. I don't like it.
It's working.
So he runs at Rumble, and I have no idea what he does to make Rumble fall over. There's a big sound effect that says "ktang," but it's like covering half of Brawn's body. And then we can see Rumble's like mid-fall.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's done there. Maybe it's a punch. I think maybe his arm's kind of to one side. Maybe it's a punch.
Swinging or something, yeah.
Frenzy comes to help Rumble, but the narration here is weird. It says, the high-pitched brating sound produced by Frenzy severely disrupts the electrical flow within Brawn's circuits, knocking him out. So, one, brating is not a word.
Oh, I think, you know what? I think that's another like weird. I see how that looks like a B. It's a G. I think it's a grating sound.
A grating sound. That makes much more sense. I thought maybe it was meant to be vibrating. But grating sound makes more sense. But anyway, somehow a sound can interrupt electrical circuits. That's not a thing. It knocks Brawn out cold. And Frenzy is insanely useful to have around and the noise he makes can just drop an Autobot like that.
Right. He should be the leader. It seems more useful than a fusion cannon, actually.
Yeah. He used it right next to Rumble, too, so I guess Rumble's immune? Who knows? In the meantime, Gears and Spider-Man have snuck around the back, and remember the fortress is on a cliff? There's a back door. So, that's useful. And thanks to his webs, Spider-Man is able to reach it, and I guess Gears can use those feet air jet thingies he has to get up there, too. This part doesn't make much sense. Gears says his power is out, and he starts to fall. And Spider-Man quickly fires a web at him so that he's able to hold him up. Though he says he doesn't know how long he can keep that up for. Gears says that just in case they better move fast, and Spider-Man agrees with him. And then Gears starts to climb up the web to the top of the cliff. I would be so pissed off if I were Spider-Man. He said his power was out. Why is he still moving and talking? He can climb up a rope, but he can't get up to the top of the cliff.
He's tired. It's been a long day for the Autobots. So
yeah. So, besides establishing that Gears has some kind of unpredictable and random power failure problem, this doesn't even add to the story anyway. It just feels like a way to find something for Spider-Man to do.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's just some more incident, right? You can get an extra panel of danger or unexpected incident to just add the power went out and
what's that they used to put on movie posters, mild peril. There's some mild peril in there.
yeah, exactly. It's a lot of mild peril from panel to panel.
And I guess they worked so hard to get Spider-Man in the issue too. Had to give him something. But it seems like they didn't have a plan beyond that. They just got him in there and they were like, okay, cool. So inside, Megatron asks Sparkplug if he's cracked the energy conversion yet. And he says that he has, and that Megatron should just take the energy and then leave him alone. From inside the fortress with part of a science lab and a lot of gasoline, Sparkplug has found a way to do this. And like we were saying before, he's a mechanic, not a scientist.
Right.
And he knows nothing about Transformers. This entire plot thread is so weird and wonky. Especially considering that the Autobots could have just done this by themselves.
Right.
They didn't need him to do this. Anyway, Megatron says to be careful because slaves who are of no more use to me aren't tolerated. Spider-Man and Gears arrive at the entrance, and Spider-Man says that they need to be fast, grab the hostage, and get out. To which Gears says, great, but I don't want to even be here in the first place.
Because he's tired. I think I've got his entire character down. He's tired. He's lazy. He wants to make Decept happen, and it's starting to happen. So now he's happy with himself.
The next page is a bit confusing, actually. Megatron says he detects an Autobot presence in the fortress, and that not even the weakest radio signal can avoid notice by Soundwave. Soundwave's not even here, so perhaps he meant to say his own name, and Soundwave's name is here by mistake.
Yeah, maybe.
Otherwise, he's just commenting that Soundwave would also have noticed. But there's no evidence of that, if that's what he meant. Spider-Man and Gears go inside, and Spider-Man comments on how massive the place is, and then he spots, I have no idea, actually, what this is supposed to be. An orange lump. Somebody is carrying somebody.
Yeah.
One of the Decepticons is injured outside.
Yeah, something like that. It's very much hard. I'm sure somebody could look at this and go like, oh, I'm sure that's I know exactly who that is, but they just look like generic Decepticons.
Mostly, yeah, they just look like Decepticon shapes, but there's a really distinctive crotch. There's like a three
yeah.
Rectangles that make up a crotch shape. I bet somebody can look at that and know whose crotch that is. Though I'm not sure they'd admit to it.
Well, it makes me feel like a fake fan. I'm not able to diagnose my Decepticons by crotch shape alone. But
anyway, whoever it is, he shoots a web at them, but the legs are up in the air, and Spider-Man is hiding around a corner. The perspective here is all over the place. I don't know what's even happening, really.
Yeah, just some sort of it just seems to be sort of taken for granted that he's tripping with his web and doesn't look like that. Maybe.
Kinda. Maybe that's meant to be it's meant to be kind of 3D, so that's down the hallway, but it just looks like it's a wall. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Gears charges through and knocks over Rumble and Frenzy, who might have been those two orange shapes up there, I don't know. Then Ravage comes out of the shadows and Spider-Man leaps away, noting that Ravage is almost as fast and agile as he is. Ravage chases Spider-Man and charges at him, looking like a regular Panther in this panel. It's kind of weird.
Oh yeah.
Ravage is still talking in this issue too, which is I don't know, maybe do they continue that through the whole series?
Some of the ones that don't talk on the show do talk.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Ravage incredulously says, "You avoided my charge." And Gears, coming up behind him, says, "Yeah, but you can't avoid my fist," and smacks Ravage so hard that they fall over backwards.
I know it's actually a robot, and it's a talking robot. But seeing a humanoid robot punch a feline robot, I feel like that's some kind of robot animal abuse.
Yeah, it's not a good look, is it? And that's a big punch. The Decepticons start to seal the hallway, and Spider-Man quickly swings under the descending door. And then Brawn just smashes right through it. He just walks through it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that means he's extremely strong. I guess if he can bust through the Decepticons' door, they have designed that so that it will keep an Autobot locked in, I assume. But he just goes through it like it's nothing. Soundwave notices Spider-Man and says, "How nice, the Autobots have new friends." And Gears says, "What do you know about friendship, Soundwave? I hear even your fellow Decepts can't stand you." Again with the Decepts, Gears. And also, that got really personal and uncalled for.
Yeah, I like the idea that not only do the Decepticons not like Soundwave, but also this gossip has reached the Autobots. Hey, did you hear that?
It's that prevalent, yeah. Is it make fetch happen from Mean Girls?
Yeah.
Gears is a mean girl.
Yeah, that is exactly what is happening here. Gears one of the plastics. He's got a burn book of all the Decepticons and probably a lot of the Autobots too.
Yeah, most likely.
Optimus Prime is fugly.
Damn, Gears is a bitch. Gears gives Soundwave one bop on the ribs and then thanks Spider-Man for the distraction. And he says that Soundwave is really so easily beaten. I feel like there's about 3 panels missing here. He just gave him a little slap and now he's totally out of the picture, but okay. That's enough. Just bunk.
Yep. He's got that's his weak spot is right under the armpit. That's
that's where he gets his power.
Yep. He hits the stop button or something on the tape recorder.
Gears smashes through another wall.
Yep.
And now we get to see Soundwave laying knocked out on the floor. This is just like a fight in a movie where you see plenty of henchmen and then they all take just one hit and then they totally crumple out on the floor and that's it. They're done.
Yep.
Gears sees Sparkplug and says that they're getting him out of there. But Megatron is standing right there and just says, "What?" I guess he's so off guard that he hasn't had the time to fire up his cannon or do anything besides yell. Spider-Man manages to completely cover Megatron in webs somehow.
Right.
But it makes no difference because he just bursts out of them like immediately. And then he makes a smart play actually though. Instead of fighting the intruders, he says that he no longer needs Sparkplug anyway and just shoots out the floor from under them and he just lets them fall to their deaths.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man leaps out of the hole after them.
The shape of the crazy fortress or whatever is like it's over the edge of the cliff. So I guess Megatron must have known that like there's like we're got a outcropping in my fortress here, and that's when I need to get rid of this guy. I'm just gonna shoot out the floor, and that'll take care of him.
I think he put him there on purpose to do that.
Yeah.
What a bastard.
This Megatron guy, the more I read about him, the more I think he stinks.
You know, he's just not a nice guy. And Soundwave, don't get me started on Soundwave. Nobody can stand him.
Nobody likes that guy.
Spider-Man attempts to catch Gears with his web again, but the added momentum of falling and the extra weight of Sparkplug causes it to break. Though the web manages to save Sparkplug from falling, Gears crashes down onto the ground. And when Spider-Man reaches the ground, the Autobots start to collect up the parts of Gears, and Spider-Man and Sparkplug comment on how cold they're being. Optimus, whose eyes have changed back to how they were in issue 1 for some reason, he thinks that the humans have a different understanding of life than the Autobots do, but he says he has no time to explain that now. So it's the second time Prime hasn't had time for something that's very important.
Well, and I feel like the reason that Spider-Man is so upset here is because like the last time that he caught somebody by webbing them and from a very great height, he's thinking he's got flashbacks to Gwen Stacy now, right? Is what
Yeah, you're right. The neck.
He's like,
oh dang, that's really funny.
He's like, Optimus, you can't possibly have, and I'm sure that in real life, like I'm sure this was not even on Jim Salicrup's radar when he was writing this, but as a longtime fan, I immediately thought like, oh yeah, he's like, oh crap, I really got to stop just grabbing, I really got to just stop trying to web people who are falling down because it does not work.
Doesn't work. That's so funny.
I'd like to imagine there's a panel that was cut out of Spider-Man cradling Gears' body, going like, Gwen, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's messed up. That's so funny. Next, we're back at the Ark where Buster yells out, Dad! Buster and Sparkplug are reunited and they share a hug, while Spider-Man hangs out literally on the ceiling. Spider-Man says to Optimus, sorry about what happened to Gears. Even the good guys die sometimes. Which, like, just a second ago you were calling them all cold. Right. Now he's being insanely casual about someone's apparent death.
Yeah.
And then just talking to their friends about that. What the hell? But it's okay because Optimus says, die? And then Spider-Man says, you mean he's still alive? Optimus says, no, but he's not what you'd call dead either. And he thanks Spider-Man for his help. And he says he can ask no more of him, which feels like a really polite way to phrase, leave us alone.
Right. Yeah, it's
Stop meddling, please.
Right. And Spider-Man just takes it, right? He's like, okay, I know when I'm not wanted.
Yeah, he can read the room. Luckily, he says he has a plane to catch anyway.
First of all, it's weird that he got sent on this assignment because he's like from a New York paper and they sent him across the country to get photos that you could just get from the wire. Second of all, I have to imagine that this completely destroys Spider-Man's secret identity because like the one time that you've seen Spider-Man in Oregon is also the time that Peter Parker was in Oregon.
Yeah,
it's a little suspicious. But the third thing, and this is some deep lore for Spider-Man heads.
I love it.
During the Clone Saga in the 90s, when there's a point where Peter thinks that he's the clone and he gives up the Spider-Man mantle to Ben Reilly so that he and Mary Jane can raise their baby. It's a whole thing. But like when Peter and Mary Jane retire, they go to Oregon. And I always think, I know that this can't exist in actual Marvel continuity, but there's a part of me that wants to believe that he's thinking, Mary Jane, this one time I was in Oregon. Don't ask me why. So it's a whole long story that I'm not legally allowed to tell, but I was in Oregon. The countryside's beautiful. There's jobs out there. I think we should move there.
That's cool. That's really funny. That would be great.
Right.
If they got the permission to do another crossover, like, hey, it's been like 40 years. How you guys doing? Peter, you haven't aged a day. Shh.
The suit's red now, though. That's a change.
Oh yeah.
Like, actually, that was the normal thing. Yeah.
You got a new paint job. Before he leaves, Spider-Man says that if the rest of the Autobots are as brave as Gears, then the Decepticons are in big trouble. Later, Ratchet says that he's gotten Gears into an operational state, and he wakes up and he says that Megatron got what he wanted from the human. And a shocked Buster says, "Dad, say it ain't so," and that's it. Issue number 4, The Last Stand.
What did you think of the cover for this issue?
I really like the way that they have like the Autobots down there in the corner, and then the Decepticons are kind of like fanned out around them. So they look really like they're backed into a corner. They're like really fighting to get their way out.
Yeah, hence the name, The Last Stand.
Yeah, right? So we got Prime, Mirage, Huffer, and Blue Streak. They're all grouped together in the corner there. And Prime is like blasting Soundwave in the chest. And Ravage, Skywarp, Laserbeak, and Megatron are like closing in. So yeah, it's laid out in a really cool way.
I think that's Thundercracker.
Oh, it is?
Because he's blue.
Ah, Thundercracker's there.
Yeah.
And here at the top, it still says number 4 in a 4-issue limited series. So they're still like acting like this is about to end now. But we know that it's going to continue like way beyond that. So I'm so curious to learn. I can't find this information anywhere. When exactly they decided it was going to be continued. And the reason I want to know that is because I want to know when in the writing process of these comics they found out there's going to be more. Because it seems like they knew ahead of time. We'll get to it when we go through.
I was gonna say, well, I have the big book of the Transformers Classic Volume 1, and it has an editor's note about number 4.
Yeah, I got some notes about that for the end of the issue too, where there's like some alternate endings that people have found, but it seems like not really. But we'll get to that way at the end. I used the wiki to help me with all that too.
So many different wikis out there for different fandoms.
It's so useful. There's so much information on there, and mostly I just use like the continuity parts and the production notes, but there's so much stuff about coloring errors and art errors, and they notice so many things that once I read it in the wiki, I can go back and see it and be like, oh yeah, that's really obvious, but I just totally missed it. So I don't know how they're noticing all these things and cataloging them. It's crazy.
Right?
All right, so a quick recap if you need a refresher on the story so far. The Autobots and the Decepticons have crash landed on Earth, and they need a way to recharge themselves. Bumblebee met Buster Witwicky, aka Spike, in the TV series, at a drive-in, which the Autobots mistook for a congregation of Earthlings, before they learned that the humans are the lifeforms, and the cars aren't sentient on Earth. The Decepticons spotted them there and attacked them, injuring Bumblebee, who Buster drove home to his dad, Sparkplug. When Bumblebee tells him about their energy problem, Sparkplug, for some reason, says that he'll be able to convert Earth fuel into usable energy for Autobots, which was overheard by Ravage, who then relayed it to Megatron. Megatron had Sparkplug kidnapped, so that he could force him to use his skills to create energy for the Decepticons instead. With the help of Spider-Man, who made a bizarre cameo last issue, they rescued Sparkplug, but Gears fell from a great height and was injured in the process. Ratchet patched him up, and when he came to, Gears told everyone that Megatron had gotten the energy conversion process from Sparkplug. And that's where issue 3 ended, so we're picking up right there after that revelation. On the first page here, we got the title, The Last Stand, and then at the bottom there's the credits. So Jim Salicrup's the writer again, Frank Springer is on pencils, Akin and Garvey are on inks, John Workman did the letters, Nel Yomtov was on colors, Bob Budiansky was the editor, and Jim Shooter still editor-in-chief at Marvel.
What's cool is that once you help do the Kickstarter, if you pick up one of the better campaign rewards, they'll give you a Bob Budiansky card.
Yeah, you could get them signed too, but I was so excited, like I waited for the page to launch, and I just quickly got the Grimlock version. I didn't notice there was one further down for the same amount of money where you could get a signature. They were just limited in numbers. So I probably could have got one if I had looked.
Yeah.
But never mind. The opening page of the issue gives us a bit of a recap as well. It says that most of the Autobots are continuing to try to repair the Ark, that the Decepticons now have the fuel conversion process, and that if the Decepticons are able to continue using it, all that stands between the Decepticons and a total takeover of Earth is the Autobots. Prime, Brawn, and Sunstreaker are watching Buster react to hearing that his dad gave the energy conversion process to the Decepticons. And Sparkplug asks Buster to let him explain. And on the right of the page, Jazz is just standing there, like, dancing.
Looked like he's just waving hello.
Oh, maybe. I thought he was doing, like, the Charleston or something. His hands are in a really strange position. And the rest of the background is purple, but for some reason he's colored in, so it kind of draws your focus on him a little bit.
What did they did to Sunstreaker? Look at him. Just look at him.
In these early issues especially, there's just errors all over the place. To the point that sometimes I can't tell who somebody even is supposed to be.
Yeah, for me, I just got to look really hard, like, oh, that's supposed to be such and such.
Yeah, usually the colors help me a lot, but sometimes you have to look at the head shape or whatever to figure out who it actually is.
Yeah.
I don't know them well enough to do that yet.
It looks like you're getting there.
Yeah, actually reading these is really helping me to learn everybody's name. Because in the show, somebody will pop up and then they'll be gone for a long time.
Right.
So Huffer has had enough. He yells that a bunch of their comrades have fallen protecting the humans, and all the humans have done is provide their energy with their means to destroy them. Which, while true, completely ignores everything that Sparkplug just went through. Megatron could just put one finger on his head, on Sparkplug's head, and just totally crush him, and he'd explode, right?
Yeah.
I think this entire argument is really unfair.
Yeah.
But it gives Ratchet pause. He says it's hard to stay cheerful with all the injuries and losses they've been taking. Sparkplug gets defensive and asks if Huffer is calling him a traitor.
Yeah, and people thought that the other version of Huffer in G1, he was just such a scary cat, but on this one, he does take charge.
Yeah. I'm so impressed with the character work they do for Sparkplug in this issue.
Yeah.
Like last issue, I was hoping for it, but I was not expecting it. Anyway, without skipping ahead too much, it makes sense for his character to say that. And Huffer says he'll show Sparkplug how they deal with traitors. But good guy Ironhide jumps in and says that, of course, Sparkplug had no option but to do what Megatron demanded, and that Huffer is forgetting how frail humans are. Huffer is outraged.
Yeah. Every time when I read these comics, I always try to do their voices.
Oh yeah, for sure. The voice cast of the show is so amazing. Like, for me too, when I read this, I can hear them in my head. Huffer is outraged that Ironhide is defending Sparkplug, and he says, "Listen, young one," which is an interesting snippet to sprinkle in there.
Yeah.
It's a little peek into the hierarchy within the Autobots. He says that Huffer knows full well that the Decepticons will do what they have to get what they want, including torture. Huffer says, "So what? This is war." And Huffer is coming off so badly here. Like, yeah, it's a war, but you brought it to another planet and involved innocent civilians in it. I feel like Prime needs to give Huffer like a stern talking to. From Huffer's body language, it looks like things are about to come to blows. So Sparkplug suggests that he and Buster get out of there before things heat up too much.
Yeah, in the thought bubble, Buster is saying in his head, like, "I never seen the Autobots act like this before."
Usually they get along really well. They're trying to help everybody, but this is the first time there's been like internal conflict.
Yeah.
Buster is really shocked to see the Autobots behaving like this. It's a really nice bit of nuance to add to the story that while there's like a clear good and bad side, there's disagreement even within just one side. And let's not forget how Mirage was being presented as uncertain about his loyalties too last issue. Maybe it's doing this kind of deep dive that's making me read so much into this. Like, I know it's a comic about giant robots who are also vehicles having a war, essentially to sell toys to kids, but this kind of thing is why I read current comics, like strong characterization and interpersonal relationships, clear motive and intrigue and emotional stakes. They're all like the things that I really like about comics. And the current Transformers comic has all of that, like so much of that. But Transformers could so easily just be Autobots good, Decepticons bad, they fight now.
Yeah.
And it kind of is in the G1 show a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's some like fun and goofy pseudo sci-fi thrown in there, but the comics and the novels like flesh out the characters in ways the TV shows and the movies can't do. Because we can hear and read the thoughts of the character. So like maybe I'll speak more on it a bit later on, but I don't want to get too far off track or like talk about myself too much. But that's an idea of where I'm coming from with some of these like observations about what might seem like really small details. Anyway, Blue Streak talks to Optimus, and I'm not quite sure what point he was trying to make here. He says that Huffer is right, but also that the humans stand to lose as much as the Autobots do. And Prime, he says that what Blue Streak says is correct, but that they brought the war here, which they absolutely did. Prime especially is the one at fault here, if they're going to point fingers and lay blame, because he's the one who set the Ark on like that suicidal collision course with the Earth. And he also says that it's their responsibility. Blue Streak says that he disagrees, and that the humans must pay for their betrayal. The Autobots should leave them to the Decepticons, which is just fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
Like, because of one guy who was taken, and as far as he knows, potentially tortured, an entire planet's worth of beings deserve to be subjugated by the Decepticons? Like, it's a bit harsh. That's harsh.
And Prime just straight up said, "Enough."
In the last issue, the Autobots saw the American military try to, like, intervene and take on the Decepticons, but Blue Streak is still, like, comfortable branding all of humanity as traitors because one person did something under threat of death. I don't know. The Autobots are really not showing a good side.
Yeah.
But now Prime has had enough.
Yeah.
He's made his thoughts on the issue known, and now it's time to stop squabbling. So he astutely notes that right now it doesn't even matter how the Decepticons got their fuel. What's more important is how quickly the Autobots can get their own and prepare for the attack, which must surely be imminent. Mirage finally puts things together for everyone and says that it's a good thing Huffer didn't smush Sparkplug because he's the only one who knows how to do the fuel conversion, which has like been the elephant in the room this entire time. Like, yeah, you gotta hurry up.
Y'all have a computer that could scan his brain or give y'all the how he made it so y'all could do it yourselves. Duh.
Yeah, and in the first issue, Bumblebee mentioned that Huffer could have done this. So this entire time when Sparkplug has been captured and they're spending time getting him back, they should have had Huffer doing that, but they didn't. Because plot, I guess.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find like a catchphrase for this exact situation where something in the plot doesn't really make sense, but to carry it forward, you have to just go with it. I still haven't got one yet, but Huffer points out that Sparkplug and Buster are making it a run for it, all while still being accosted by Ironhide. Look at the angle on Huffer there, though. He's about to fall like right over. He's barely standing. But Ironhide's face is really funny too. His eyes are like massive and his mouth's open. He's like,
yeah, and it looks like Ironhide is pointing. It looks like he's pointing, but it looks like he's laying in bed or something.
Yeah, his angle's all weird there. Jazz finally stops shaking what the Ark gave him and says that he'll stop them from running. And he makes a wall of fire with his flamethrower just in front of Sparkplug and Buster.
What the hell, Jazz?
Yeah, I guess he didn't aim at them. That's something. And just for a second, Sparkplug turns into that animation from Street Fighter. You know, when someone's been hit by yoga fire and they're falling over like completely on fire.
Yeah, but it looks like it, but he's not on fire.
No.
They just color his whole body orange and red.
Yeah, when I was first reading it, I thought like he was on fire, he was going to die, but no. They do color him all orange for a second. But Buster's right there next to him and he's totally fine. But it's okay, because in the next panel, it's not as dramatic as all that. He's just collapsed. He's not on fire. Buster asks him what's wrong. And leaving that on a dramatic cliffhanger, now we're going to cut to a news report about the Decepticon base.
There's more than meets the eye.
Yeah. In the news report, they say more than meets the eye, which Jim Salicrup snuck into the dialogue in issue 3 as well. I don't know if it's going to keep happening, but they keep trying to say the thing. It's really funny. So yeah, there's a news report about the Decepticon base, which is now silent, but it's surrounded by the army. And pullback reveal, is drinking in a bar. And it's the 80s, so there's a dude right next to him with a full-on cigar in his mouth, drinking what looks like a martini or something. O was hoping that the news might mention what happened to Sparkplug and Buster, but since Sparkplug was taken inside the fortress by Starscream, and Buster stayed behind at the Ark, the news crews don't know anything about them. He says, doesn't Ted Koppel know that Sparkplug was kidnapped by the robots? And I'm from England, so I had no idea who Ted Koppel was. But he's a news broadcaster, for anyone else like me who doesn't know. At first, I thought it was kind of weird of O to assume that the news media would know about the kidnapping. But way back in issue 2, when Sparkplug was taken, most of the street he lived on came outside to see the robots, along with the police officers who were there too. Apparently, none of them relayed what happened to anyone. So I'm with him, actually. It's weird that so many people saw the Decepticons kidnap a human, and that story hasn't made the news.
Yeah, they just worried about something else. You know, they took in a human being in there like, no, the base is silent right now.
Yeah, they're more focused on that, I guess. So in the middle of thinking about that, his shoulder is grabbed by Optimus Prime? No, it's not really. Haha. It's his dad in an Optimus Prime costume. Apparently he owns the bar that O is in, and the Transformers fight is great for business because lots of the visiting reporters and worried townsfolk are coming in. Yay for capitalism, I guess.
Yeah, you see all these people coming to the bar to watch the news and all. Serve them drinks. Why don't you? Like, yeah.
Right? I'm with O on that one too. Like, sentient robots are fighting a war on Earth and fending off the army, but hey, the bar's doing okay. What? O says, if they start shooting with nukes, you'll clean up, huh? But his dad didn't take these comments very well. And he says, well, how do you like that? Well, in his head, he's thinking about how kids today have a lack of gratitude. And O storms off, and he gets outside and sees a car loaded with luggage driving by.
Yeah, the Rollins.
Yeah, he recognizes them. And he says, what's going on? And someone inside the car tells him that they're leaving the town, and that if he and his father have any sense, they'll do the same thing. Now we're going to cut again to something. I don't know how I feel about this. It's Jesse's ballet class, and everyone is wearing these, like, very tight leotards. And in the first panel, a couple of Jesse's friends are kind of leaning out over a window with their backs to us, so it's undeniably a butt shot in this comic that's mostly aimed at kids. But, like, I'm a 38-year-old man who pages ago was hopping on about the character development in this. I don't know. They didn't know they'd make it past 4 issues, so nobody knew this nonsense was coming. But maybe I'm really overanalyzing this. Female characters being sexualized in comics is a lot less common these days, but
Oh, yeah.
it's certainly still happening now.
Yeah.
It was way worse back in the day, I guess, but I don't know if this is okay, but
They did this shot because they're looking out of the window and just seeing the Rollins moving away.
it just feels a little bit gratuitous to me.
I understand. It's still going on today.
Yeah, thankfully it seems like less than it used to, and it's less of a selling point for books than it used to be, but yeah, it's still happening. We know that Buster can drive a car, and that he's trying to get into college. So according to Buster himself in issue 1, he wants to get a scholarship. So I guess Jessie is at least 18, assuming that she and Buster are the same age. I'm getting into the weeds a bit, but I was just a little bit concerned about how appropriate it was to show her in a skin-tight leotard, regardless of her age. But it's potentially worse depending on how old or not she is.
They might be the same age. So, like,
Yeah, that would make the most sense, right? Maybe I'm being like overly sensitive and cautious. Or maybe I'm being the right amount of sensitive and cautious. I don't know. Either way, I was conflicted about this and I just wanted to mention it. But that's what's happening anyway. Thankfully, in this 80-issue sprawling intergalactic war story about transforming robots, I don't expect this kind of thing to come up that much. But I thought about it and I thought maybe I should just address it. The women or girls at the ballet class go to see the car that O saw. And from the way the car is packed with luggage, and there's a little trike on top too, they figure out that they're leaving the town. One of Jesse's friends says that she can't believe that anyone is taking this robot business seriously, which is batshit. Like, lady, they're holding off the whole army, including helicopters. What's not serious here? Like, she must have not seen the news, I guess. Jessie thinks to herself about how she thought coming to class would take her mind off things, but she's really worried about Buster, and she's still wondering if she'll ever see him again. And back at the Ark, the Autobots ask about Sparkplug. Apparently, Buster can diagnose what happened to him because Sparkplug has collapsed, and Buster says that if they don't get him to a hospital, he'll die. Ratchet transforms into an ambulance and says that he's the guy for the job. and Optimus picks up Sparkplug to load him in the back, saying that he hopes he can be repaired, which is kind of cute. The Autobots are still getting used to the distinction between like humans and robots.
Yeah, because Optimus asks, "Is your father still functioning?"
Yeah, it's so cute. Buster guides Ratchet along the same way he did with Bumblebee in the first issue. Like, you can't really drive an Autobot, but you can tell it which way you want it to go.
Yeah.
And they head to the hospital with Sparkplug still passed out in the back. While he's unconscious, we get a full-on Korean War flashback sequence.
Yep.
This comic is from 1984. So it was written 29 or 30-ish years after the Korean War in 1950, which lasted until 1953. And the 80s was a very different time for what was and wasn't acceptable, like we've just seen up the page a little bit. So I was a bit wary to read this flashback.
Yeah, I was born in 83, and I think I was still a baby when this came out.
Yeah, you must have been 83. This is 84. So you were 1.
Yeah.
Just at the beginning of this like sequence, I'll say now that it's all handled extremely well. There's nothing that could be considered problematic that I could see. But IDW did recolor this comic, so this is not the original printing. So while like I'm really impressed with the handling of this, I'm curious to see how it looked originally to see if it's as sensitively handled then. The Korean soldiers are depicted in a way that we don't really see them that well, so it sidesteps any kind of unkind representations. The focus is mainly on Sparkplug himself, and the characters talk about their situation, but they never really reference the Koreans at all either. So there's no like slurs or you know.
Yeah, I don't think they have any racial slurs in this and that in this comic.
No, and it was the 80s, and Marvel had done that before, so I was really like, ooh, is it going to get uncomfortable? But no, it's all right. It stands up to 2025 standards of sensitivity, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But I wanted to quickly talk about how amazing it is that this entire thing is even being addressed and addressed properly. It's being handled so well. And for anyone who's listening or watching and might not read so many comics outside of these ones, I've read a bunch of 60s, 80s, and 90s Marvel comics. And at the risk of getting some heat from like long-time fans, I don't think they age that well or read particularly well now outside of the context of the time period. So I appreciate there's like a history there, and they are significant in the context of that time, but I totally get that coming to them as a reader of current comics is going to color how I see them. And there's so many people who love those classics and appreciate them in a way that I can't, and I wish I could. They're cheesy to me, and they're goofy, and they're kind of nonsensical, but there's a lot of spectacle and pages of characters kind of just yelling and posing. All that to say that nothing I've personally read from Marvel from those time periods has any real depth. It's all action and fighting and expositional dialogue so that more of the page can be just fighting and shouting and posing. It's a big part of why I wasn't able to get into comics until I turned 30, despite like pretty desperately wanting to. I'm really not trying to rag on those comics though. I love comics, and they're probably my favorite thing that exists on Earth. And though I can't enjoy them, I know that there are so many others who do and can, and that's really wonderful. But having read all of those to try and brute force myself into liking comics, which I did for about a year, is what makes this stick out so much as exceptional to me. We get a really good look at what past experiences led Sparkplug to be the character that we've been seeing so far, and it makes him much more real than, you know, a text box that says, oh, by the way, he's a Korean War vet, and that's why he's a good mechanic. Like, this is showing us in detail instead of just telling us.
Oh, it is.
Which is like extremely rare in my experience of older Marvel superhero comics. And this comic is from Marvel, which makes it stick out to me even more. I just think that this storytelling is so good.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I really wish more comics from the 80s and onwards had taken this kind of approach. It's awesome. So sorry, big sidebar there, but back to what's going on. Sparkplug, whose friend calls him Sparky, which is nice, is passed out asleep in the passenger seat of a Jeep. And his friend is chatting to him anyway, saying that he's jealous and would love a good night's sleep. But Sparky is an ace mechanic, and another unit needs him and his skills and the truck they've got to repair their ambulances. The truck runs over a mine and gets destroyed, and the poor driver is killed, though they just show him kind of laying on the floor. It's not gory or bloody, but the text specifically says that the mine killed him, poor guy. Sparkplug survives and gets taken as a prisoner. He's a handy mechanic though, so he's put to work repairing vehicles for the Koreans. There's a Korean soldier in the foreground of this panel, but they've opted not to draw the eyes. I'm so curious about if the original printing is like this, because what we're reading is like that, like I said, that recolored version. Having the face blank like this is a really ingenious way to avoid doing anything offensive. So I'm really curious to know if it was always like that. Sparkplug thinks that it's lucky that he's of use to the Koreans, because things might have ended badly for him otherwise. He's being watched and he needs to find a way to escape. They reach the hospital and someone remarks, "What? Isn't that one of our ambulances?" I guess they're surprised to see it pull up with a random kid driving it. Buster lets the hospital staff know that his dad needs help, and they rush Sparkplug right inside because, as the doctor says, it's apparent that he's had a heart attack. A nurse has lots of questions for Buster, including where the ambulance came from, and he says that his dad is a mechanic and it just happened to be there on the lot. Poor Buster is stuck waiting for now, and he thinks that there's nothing else he can do. Or is there? And with that thought, he heads to a payphone. And I don't know if there is one, maybe you know. Is there a payphone Autobot? Because that would be really cool, actually.
No.
Ah, that's too bad. I think that would be neat. Back outside the Decepticon fortress, everything is quiet until a soldier sees through binoculars that something is happening.
Oh, yeah.
So the door slowly opens to reveal Megatron, and he's fully healed and recharged now. He's stepping outside to face the army, and he says, "Go ahead, little ones, do your worst." This part is so cool. This part is Megatron flexing hardcore. The military opens fire, and the guy who looks like he's the commander tells them to go ham. Don't spare anything, just totally open fire upon Megatron. And they do so for 15 full minutes. So 15 minutes they're just shooting at Megatron, and he's standing there taking the whole thing.
Yeah, and then when they're done, and he just says, "Ha!" and just walk back.
He's just standing there, totally fine. Megatron's there, the smoke clears, and he's just smiling. Out of everything so far, this is my favorite moment, I think.
Yeah.
This is just fucking badass intimidation from Megatron. Especially because after this, he turns around and he walks away. No return fire, no monologue, nothing. Pure cold intimidation. So fucking cool.
The military is screwed.
Yep. It's like every movie too. Like, oh, there's a giant monster, let's shoot it. Oh, it didn't work. I don't know, let's just keep shooting it. Like, okay. Well, they did that for 15 minutes. Hopefully they've proved now you can't hurt them with bullets.
Yeah.
So we follow Megatron inside, and he asks for a damage report after the previous battle. And in the art, they're using these like old-fashioned squeaker car horns attached to garden hoses to repair the Decepticons. For some reason, I don't know what's going on there. That's their medical equipment, apparently. And someone, I can't tell who it is, reports to Megatron that Frenzy, Rumble, Skywarp, and Soundwave are all injured, and that Skywarp needs the most attention. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, sometimes Megatron has some random worker Decepticons with him, not the ones that we know. Just a random worker Decepticon.
Background Decepticon.
Yeah.
So this random guy says that Skywarp needs the most medical attention. Starscream sees that as a chance to take another jab at Megatron and comments that it's a shame that he allowed the Autobots to take back the human, and that the Autobots are likely returning to their full power as they speak. And maybe it's time for someone else to take charge.
I've heard enough.
Yeah. Megatron just got back from intimidating the humans, and now he's going to intimidate his own allies as well, because he says, "Starscream, I'm afraid I've heard enough." And then he blasts him with his fusion cannon, hard enough to send him flying, and then I can hear this in Megatron's voice in my head. He says, "Add Starscream to the damage report." This whole scene is just Megatron being scary and awesome. It's so good. I can just hear like the stunned silence after that blast, and then him just saying that in a totally neutral voice. Megatron tells Ravage that despite Starscream's tone, he does have somewhat of a point, so maybe it would be a good idea for Ravage to go and see what's going on board the Ark.
And in this comic, yeah, people, Ravage can't talk.
I'm still wondering if that's going to continue after issue 4, because that's when things are more solid, like with the TV show, but I hope they continue it actually, because I kind of like it. And Ravage, like you said, who can still talk, agrees to go and do that.
You command Megatron.
On the Ark, Prime is lamenting that the Autobot situation is so dire. And Hover says, maybe not. Remember last issue when Ratchet had something to tell you and you asked him to wait and then you didn't go back and find out what it was? He found something in the Ark's memory banks from 4 million years ago when it crash landed there. Prime asks what that has to do with the current situation. And Hover says that all that time ago, the Ark's defenses were still working, and it detected another life form from Cybertron on Earth in Antarctica. So it sent out a drone to determine if the life form was a threat, and this part was confusing for me at first. I had to look this up. The drone goes to a volcano-ringed valley filled with weird alien creatures which are known as dinosaurs. But Hover just said Antarctica. It's Antarctica now, but Antarctica used to be warm. I didn't know that, but now I know. And knowing is half the battle. Wait, wrong show.
The reason why it looks like this and you see dinosaurs, this was supposed to be the Savage Land, the prehistoric domain of the present day Kazar, because Kazar is like one of the Marvel heroes.
Yeah, I feel like Kazar is just Tarzan, basically, isn't he?
Marvel's version of Tarzan. So right now, this is the Savage Land. Well, in this book, people don't know that the Savage Land exists.
Yeah, the same location as the Savage Land, according to this. I don't know if that sticks, though. We'll find out. Did they ever go back there in the series?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they do. Cool. The drone finds Shockwave, the missing Decepticon that Megatron referred to as one of their mightiest in issue 1. The narration says that Shockwave has total control of the electromagnetic spectrum, and he uses that power to X-ray the dinosaurs. And there's a dinosaur in this panel with its whole ribcage.
Yeah.
Either like visible because of the rays or just fully exposed. I can't tell what he's done to that poor thing. But it does look like it's fallen over backwards, like in pain or dying. The drone confirms that Shockwave was the threat, and it was also the first time it scanned any life forms on Earth. And since nothing mechanical existed back then, it deduced that the dinosaurs were the dominant life form on Earth. So it took that information and converted 5 Autobots into the Dinobots so that they could blend in on Earth. So that means 5 of the Autobots became the Dinobots, which is not what went down in the G1 cartoon.
No.
That was completely different. But I actually way prefer this.
In the G1 cartoon, it was Wheeljack who created them. Well, 3 of them.
Yeah, I really prefer this origin for them, though. It's way more interesting for me to think that there are like 5 Autobots who just got their bodies completely changed. So I don't know if we ever get to see them take forms besides the Dinobot forms they get given, but it would be so interesting and neat if they had some sections about how they used to be before that happened to them. This little introduction panel gives us each Dinobot along with their name. So we have Snarl, the Stegosaurus, Grimlock, the T-Rex, Swoop, the Pterodactyl, and one of my favorite voices from the G1 show. Swoop's voice is insane. There's a little clip of Michael Bell on YouTube at like a TFCon in a Q&A, and he's talking about how much this voice hurt to do. Poor guy. But he looks like such a lovely man too. But yeah, he really hurt himself doing that voice, and it's a really insane voice.
Oh yeah, and my personal favorite Dinobot, Sludge.
Yeah, next up there's Sludge. I say Diplodocus, but I've heard Diplodocus too. How do you pronounce that?
Growing up, I thought it was a brontosaurus.
Oh, it might be a brontosaurus. They're very similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there's a Triceratops. And this might not be funny to most people, but I'm from England and we use this word very differently to most other places in the world. So I'm so sorry to inform you that that name is like a mid-tier derogatory term where I'm from. Mostly people use it to call a woman's virtue into question, but less commonly anyone can just say it to anyone as a generic insult. You can say it on TV, but don't say it to kids is the vibe, really.
Yeah, I grew up watching some British comedies and I knew what it meant.
Slag.
Mm.
You slag. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna forgive me for being juvenile, but I find that name so amusing. Slag. Huffer says.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's funny to me too. Huffer says that the Dinobots used a shuttlecraft to fly to the island that Shockwave was on and destroy him. But during that confrontation, Shockwave spotted the surveillance drone and jammed its signal. So like I always say, anytime in any movie or any show that someone quote unquote dies, if you don't see the corpse, assume they're going to come back. And that's what I guess Ratchet and Huffer are doing. Every time, if you don't see the body,
yeah,
they'll be back.
They always come back. You're looking at you, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers.
How many times? Yeah, sheesh. Prime kind of states the obvious and says, so the question is, what happened? Like, yes. And Huffer says that Ratchet sent a probe to find out. And Prime says fine, but it's kind of irrelevant at this point anyway, if they can't find a source of fuel that will enable them to defend themselves from the Decepticons. Ravage, who was sent to spy on the Autobots earlier, relays to the Decepticons that Sparkplug hasn't given away the details of the energy conversion process yet to the Autobots. Megatron takes this for what it is, which is the perfect chance to strike at them, unopposed, and he says that Prime will learn that nobody defies Megatron. And again here, he has another awesome moment because he says, isn't that right, Starscream? He's going like full aggro in this issue, I love it. Back on the Ark, this part is weird. The Ark has like a teleporter room full of glass tubes called the Tubes of Transference. So I searched that up because I was pretty sure this doesn't exist anywhere else. Otherwise, you just use this all the time. It's too useful not to, right?
Yeah, not in the show, but
I looked this up on the wiki,
yeah,
and it only references these things being used this one time. So I wonder if it gets destroyed or just quietly never mentioned again because...
Never mentioned again.
Yeah. Instant teleportation makes it way harder to sell a dramatic story, like in a lot of circumstances. I think that's why in Star Trek there's always interference. Just being able to teleport out is too useful. The narration says, thousands of cables, tubes, and wires attach themselves to the Autobots. And there's a shot of Prime with 3 wires attached to him. So a bit of an overstatement, but Prime's thinking about how this might be their last Hail Mary against the Decepticons. The text boxes tell us that not all of the Autobots who went into the tubes get teleported, but they do sacrifice their remaining energy to power Optimus, Huffer, Ironhide, Bluestreak, and Mirage. And you'll see later, it was an unnecessary and frankly bad idea to list them all by name here, because in the art later, that does not match up to this roll call. Despite the dire situation that they're in, Ironhide and Huffer, who don't forget is mainly an engineer, shout out some bravado. But in the text box, it says that all of them are secretly wondering how much of a chance they even stand against the Decepticons.
It's 5 against like 10 or something.
They have less energy now too.
Yeah, these tubes here are just siphoning energy from the remaining Autobots to the ones that's going to fight.
Yeah, it's really like the last thing they can do.
Yep.
Like if this doesn't work out, they're toast. There's a small detail here, but Prime is standing with his arms spread and his head back, like he's amazed and glad that the teleporter worked. I think it's a cool choice of pose for him though, because it captures his personality. Like the others are all, yeah, it worked, let's stick it to Megatron, and Prime's just like, oh thank fuck, we made it. So they don't have long to think, because right away, a huge hole is blasted in the ceiling.
Kadoom! Oh, sorry, it's like da kadoom.
Kadoom. There's all kind of sound effects in this book.
Oh yeah.
There's one of a volcano that was like Vastrum. I've never seen that anywhere else before. There's a giant explosion. Light starts to pour into the cave that they're in, and rocks are falling from the ceiling.
That was Megatron's way of letting us know that he has come.
Yeah, exploding is the same way I let people know that too. Outside, like really far away, Megatron yells through the hole he's just blasted. Behave yourself. That he would love to destroy Optimus. But he's giving him a chance to surrender. I don't know why he would do that, actually. It seems really dumb. Megatron has all the power and all the advantage. Why would you announce your presence and then give them the opportunity to fight back? I don't know what he's playing it.
Right.
But let's put it down to Megatron's hubris and that gigantic silver dick he's been swinging around this entire issue. It's also not clear at all how Megatron knew exactly where the Autobots were inside this cave. They teleported there, so unless there's some giant, luminous, and super obvious beam of light, like again from Star Trek, from them teleporting in when that happens.
Maybe they got the information of where they at because Ravage was spying on them.
Yeah, let's do like our own headcanon. They knew where they were.
Yeah.
Let's just transform and roll with it. Does that work? I'm still workshopping this.
It hurts my head, like on G1 Transformers, like both the Autobots and the Decepticons can fly, but like later episodes, the Autobots can't fly anymore. I was like, what?
I thought it was just me. I thought I was forgetting things because, yeah, sometimes it seems like people can fly who can't fly, and other times they can't fly and they need to be picked up by somebody else.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit loosey-goosey with who can and who can't fly. Megatron's weird logic aside, Ironhide says that they should go straight back at Megatron. And Prime says, no, that's exactly what he wants them to do, so we can pick them off easily, which, yeah, solid logic. But, he could have just collapsed the entire mountain on them, though.
Yeah.
Instead of giving them a chance to surrender.
Right? They're inside of a volcano.
Right, it's a dangerous place to be. I don't know why he's like, yeah, come on, fight back. What are you doing? The Autobots don't come out of the hole like he wanted, so Laserbeak and Buzzsaw go in through the new skylight in the mountain, and they attack what they think is Mirage, but it's not actually him. It's one of his illusions.
Like, I do love his ability.
It's so useful, right, as a decoy. But it only works if you can change it, because once they know that, they're never going to trust you the next time they see you, right?
Yeah, but the Decepticons always fall for it.
I guess, yeah, sometimes they just have to do these things where it's like, what, yeah, you wouldn't really do that in real life. You'd catch on pretty quickly, but it's for the plot.
Wait, like, yeah, it's a Hound that does the holograms of himself. Mirage just straight up, like, turn invisible. Yeah, I keep forgetting that too.
Mirage is thinking about how he'd rather not be here at all. I don't know why Prime chose him as like one of his small team for this, because maybe it's his ability is really useful, like as a decoy. But the guy's heart is not in the fight, and it hasn't been for a while. He's always thinking about how he doesn't want to be here, and like maybe he's on the wrong side even. So I really wonder if that plot thread is gonna like amount to anything later on. Because it's really interesting to have a guy who's thinking about defecting. He
just wanted to just stay in Cybertron and just be him. That's all.
Yeah, he does mention that a bunch of times. Like, I'd rather just be at home. But Cybertron 4 million years ago was flying through the galaxy. And we don't know at this point if it still even exists. Ravage, who was hiding in the shadows, pounces on him and says that he's going to finish what he started the last time they scrapped, which was in issue 2. Mirage keeps Ravage busy, saying, we're both from Cybertron, why must we fight? But at the same time, he's thinking about the rifle he dropped because he wasn't prepared for Ravage's attack. Ravage says that he isn't there to talk, and he bites down on Mirage's arm, which lets out this big snap sound effect. And in a couple panels time, we'll see he's bitten clean through it and he's like severed it from Mirage's body.
Yeah.
With his other arm, Mirage grabs for the gun, thinking that he forgot how crazy Decepts can be. It caught on. I really don't like when they call them Decepts. I don't know why, it just feels wrong to me.
Like, yeah, some of these Decepticons are crazy. Like, try to talking to them is like talking to a brick wall. So you just got to fight fire with fire.
Yeah, I'm so curious actually to find out as it goes along who's really loyal to Megatron, who's just scared of Megatron, and like who are in his kind of cult.
Some of the Decepticons join him out of fear, and Soundwave, he just believe in Megatron's cause.
Yeah, Soundwave seems to be like, I don't know if he necessarily respects Megatron, but he respects what he's doing, at least.
Yeah.
So Mirage gets hold of his gun, and he blasts Ravage full in the face with his armor-piercing liquid fuel dart. Try saying that 3 times fast. Ravage is down, and Mirage decides that he's going out to fight alongside the others. And he says he's realized, I guess just right now, that the only way he's ever going to see Cybertron again is by fighting with the others and winning this entire thing. Back at the Ark, the probe has picked up a signal, and it's beaming it back to Teletran 1's screen. And nonsensically, we can see the probe on the screen, actually. I don't know how it's doing a selfie like that, but we can see the probe in the shot. And it has located a Cybertronian under tons of rock, and it begins to excavate whatever is down there, when a purple arm breaks through the rocks and crushes the probe. Nobody's there to watch the screen, though. The fight's continuing in the mountain cave, and more Decepticons are coming, and Thundercracker is using his sonic booms to cause the cave to collapse.
And that's another thing. They never let Thundercracker use his ability, because he does sonic booms in the comics.
Yeah, he did it in the first issue, and they said you could. No, is it the first one or I think the second one? They said you could hear it for 100 miles. That is seriously loud.
Yeah.
You could explode human bodies with that, surely.
Yeah.
Buzzsaw does like a fly past too, and fires lasers at the Autobots. And Prime tells them to get to safety and that he'll take care of the birds.
And on the panel above where a Thundercracker let out his sonic booms, on the next panel you can see Wind Charger doing the splits in the air.
How does that happen?
Well, doing the splits in the midair.
Yeah, a sound so loud. You just, whoa. Who's that? The red one. There's someone else falling over backwards. Like, that's more natural oppose, but I don't know what has to happen to you that your legs splay like that.
It looks like an Ironhide.
Ironhide got knocked off his feet, but Windcharger's legs got blasted open.
Yeah, he's doing the splits in the air.
That's gonna hurt. And we got more crazy sound effects all over the place here too. We got a zrat and a poom.
Boom.
Boom. Woom. It's a woom as well.
And Soundwave's birds can talk too.
Yeah.
It's not only Ravage.
Megatron arrives and almost has a shot at Optimus with his fusion cannon, but he notices that too many Decepticons are in the line of fire. He decides that he's fine with them taking the hit, if it means damaging Optimus, and he's about to fire when Bluestreak fires both his shoulder missiles at him. Megatron has already proved now how resistant his body is, and he takes the blows with no problem. Prime, meanwhile, grabs Starscream mid-flight, who tries to transform while he's being held, and Prime lets Huffer know that Bluestreak needs help. And then we cut back to the hospital, where since Ratchet has nothing else to do but wait, he allows some people from the hospital to use him as an actual ambulance.
No, he was like, what? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, he's like, well, okay, I guess. I really wish there was another panel here of, like, Optimus has just grabbed Starscream's leg, and I really need to see him smash him on the ground.
Yeah, he caught him in mid-transformation.
Yeah, perfect time, just wreck him.
And on the next panel where you see Ratchet, like one of the guys says, "This is the only ambulance available, and we need it." And when Ratchet said, "What?" the other guy getting in the passenger seat said, "Did you hear that squeak?"
Yeah, they're totally oblivious.
And in Ratchet's thought bubble, he says, like, "These men seem to mean well. I'll just keep quiet and help them."
Yeah, he figures he doesn't need to just sit there and do nothing. He may as well do something, so he lets them use him as a vehicle for now. But I don't know if they're going to notice that they can't drive him like an ambulance. They don't mention that later on. In the first issue, Buster couldn't drive Bumblebee, but he could, like, guide it along, but there was no accelerator pedal inside, but maybe they changed that later on. Sparkplug is still dreaming about Korea, where he fixed the opposition's trucks and was then rescued, but the last thing he sees is what he imagines happens to the drivers of those trucks, because he tampered with the fuel and the brake lines.
Yep.
So he imagines them, like, driving and falling off the side of a cliff. The fight in the cave is getting rough on the Autobots now, who are almost out of any fuel they were able to siphon from their comrades. And in the panels showing them tiring, there are 6 of them when they left with a team of 5. And 7 if you count whoever that is laying there on the floor on the left.
It looks like a Mirage.
Yeah, that might be Mirage there. Huffer saved Bluestreak, but he's really badly shaken. And Megatron is still firing at them with his cannon, and he yells, "Prepare to be destroyed!" And together, the assembled Decepticons rush on the Autobots, and they're, like, firing at them, their guns blazing. Megatron yells, "You're mine, Optimus!" And point-blank fusion cannon guns him in the arm.
Yep.
Which disarms him in, like, both senses of the word. Prime drops his gun, and his entire arm is wrecked. Huffer tries to encourage the shell-shocked Bluestreak to keep fighting, but catches either some laser fire or otherwise is just body-checked by Thundercracker. It's kind of hard to tell from the artwork, but it looks like Thundercracker either shot him or, like, crashed into him and knocked him back.
No, it looks like a Laserbeak or Buzzsaw hit him on the side.
Yeah, and he's fallen over there. And there's more Zrat and Poom in the sound effects. Oh, and we get a Brata Brata as well. Thundercracker's next target is Ironhide, who he fires on alongside Ravage, who's back in the fight. Buzzsaw dives on Mirage and slices through his armor, according to the narration. But in the artwork, he's either leaning back really far, or his head's come off. Like, I can't tell what's happening in that picture. But it looks like he might have been beheaded.
I know, right?
Megatron's coming at Prime now, but this time he's not using his gun, he's throwing hands. He taunts Prime.
Yep.
And then, this is kind of silly. Prime just bends over forwards, which is not how you dodge a punch, but it gets him out of harm's way, which makes it look like Megatron ran quite some distance in the wind-up for that punch. But because he does that, and because Megatron's swing is so powerful, he trips over Prime, who's ducking, and he flies 200 yards away. Like, that's specified in the text box, 200 yards. So he's running at Prime to punch him. Prime just ducks, and he's punching so hard that he trips himself over and flies 200 meters. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of cool if they're implying that Megatron's punch is an absolute devastator, but like, this is slapstick comedy.
Oh yeah.
I can imagine this with like that whoop 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 sound effect from like Hanna-Barbera or something. Prime has time to change targets now, so he punches Ravage, who at this point is full on straddling Ironhide. It looks so inappropriate. Like, I don't know what's going on in that panel, but that looks like it's from Rule 34 or something.
Hey now. Let's just leave it be. Just leave it be.
Yeah, don't look, give them their privacy. But that was enough time for Megatron to get up and run those 200 meters back to Prime. And now he's using the cannon. So he blasts him with the cannon and Prime falls over backwards over Ravage. And that's it. Megatron's got him. He grabs him and he holds him up his head like in Transformers 1. Remember when Megatron lifts Sentinel Prime?
Yeah.
It looks like all is lost. And then the Decepticons start to crumble all at once, and they're all screaming in pain and falling over. Megatron drops Prime, but then we cut back to the hospital. So we're back at the hospital now. We're leaving that on a cliffhanger. And Buster reveals to Jesse and O that Sparkplug is going to be okay, which is more than he can say for the Decepticons when the corrosive fuel that Sparkplug made kicks in. So Sparkplug used his experience in Korea sabotaging those trucks to sabotage the Decepticons after all.
Yep.
A fact that everyone would have learned if they had just listened to him and let him make his argument. But once again, I'm so impressed that they linked those two experiences like that. Like, they had it become important to the current events. It was really, really nicely done.
Oh, yeah.
Mirage asks what happened, and Prime says that we won. Somehow he deduces exactly what Sparkplug did. But whatever, this comic is almost over, so just give it to him. He says that the Autobots and everyone living on Earth owes a debt to Sparkplug. And just then, an enormous explosion rocks the cavern. Through a huge hole in the ceiling comes a gigantic purple laser cannon. I mean gigantic. The narration says it's 35 feet long and hovering. It transforms into the gigantic Shockwave, who says, "After 4 million years, I have accomplished my mission. The Autobots are no more." And that's where it ends.
They was gonna stop it there if sales for these comics won't do well, but
Yeah.
it looks like it was doing well, so they gotta keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All this time for the first 4 issues, they've been saying it's a 4-issue series. It's going to end. And right down to the very end, it seems like maybe it's going to. But then you get this that says, nope, it's not over. And that's it. That's the complete story of the initial 4-issue miniseries. But if you've watched this far, then you'll know that it doesn't end there. We've read just one more issue after this one, so if you want to join us now, there isn't much to catch up on. However, there are some UK stories which come between issue number 4 and the issue number 5 of the American series that we've covered too. I hope you had as much fun listening to this and watching this video as I did making it with my friends. It's such a fun time. I really enjoy making this show. And I hope you'll join us as we continue to read the series. If you want to help out and support the show, you know what to do, all the usual things. Like it, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care, be kind, and do good. Till all are one.